audio levels are not good. I might have to turn them up a little more or turn them down. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, what is this? I don't even have a doc. I'm like looking for my doc. Ooh,
No, you got nothing.
No, I really don't have anything because it's got 2 topics and then Puppy threw me a curveball. But welcome, guys. Welcome to Friendly Fire Podcast, episode 20. I'm pretty sure it's 20. That's what all my graphics say. So we're gonna go with that. It's been a while, but that's mostly due to life. And we got a curveball. We got to sit in tonight. We're dragging Brett off the bench to replace for Puppy at the last minute because he had. What do you say? His wife called an audible on us, but that's kind of how this goes. Darth can attest that we've tried to do not just this podcast, but at least like half a dozen in the last 2 months, and it just hasn't worked.
At least your commitment level has been lacking.
Well, commitment level to whom though? That's the thing. To you guys, yes, it's been lacking, but yeah, it just hasn't worked. I mean, we just haven't pulled the trigger. We've set it up, and I'm like, I gotta back out, or Puppy, or you haven't though. Credit to you, but. You're always ready. You're always ready to go. So that's awesome. But yeah, we're finally gonna do it. We have a lot to talk about, so I'm gonna try to keep this relatively short. You can tell I'm kind of speaking a little quick. We're gonna talk about some obviously Battlefield 1. We're probably gonna just talk about like the reveal and overall impressions. We haven't even done that on this podcast. And then we're gonna get into the closed alpha that Brett, Kickstand, and I have access to. I don't have a lot of hours, and then Darth doesn't. But you're probably the most current on Battlefield 4, so that'll be good. You can kind of bring us up to speed. You probably know more about like the UI and stuff than I do. Then we'll go into some Overwatch because we haven't discussed that either. And I think most of us play it. Darth, I don't think you do. Have you?
No, I haven't. I've been watching it from afar.
Yeah. All right. I know. I played with Brett, and I haven't played with Kick, but I've seen him plenty enough to play it. And then after that, it's going to kind of be open. I know a lot of people are asking me my thoughts on CSGO Lotto. I think we might just keep that for an after show. I don't know if I want that stench on the podcast proper. And plus, you're probably going to want me to have a couple beers before I get into that topic. So we'll get to that. Yes. But before we go any further, I do want to take one little bit of administration. I want to congratulate Darth on hitting 10K subs. No small feat on YouTube. Doing it right, not doing.
Eventually, I'll make another video here.
Via content, not necessarily networking, which is not usually how it's done these days. But good on you, sir. And Kickstand for 1K followers on Twitch. That's also probably equally as much of a grind. But one day I hope I'll get there with my terrible stream schedule. But congratulations to you, man. Well deserved. And I should actually welcome most of your community because they did just jump over here. Thank you, guys. Thanks for coming. Thanks for letting me borrow him for the evening. I promise I'll give him back. He's not going to stick around for too long. But we'll try to get him mad, try to get him kind of opinionated and see the different kind of kicking. Not the host kick, the guest kick that can kind of come out and just be opinionated.
This is your channel, so I can just spear whatever.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want. You can get me banned if you really want to.
Nipple.
And like I said, Puppy was going to be in, but he couldn't make it at the last minute, so we asked Brett to come in. Brett, I'm kind of expecting you maybe to cast some aspersions towards the competitive aspect a little bit, maybe a Battlefield if you see that, the more serious play. I don't necessarily want to use the competitive word yet because I don't know if we'll get into it. But anyway, Battlefield 1 closed alpha. Let's talk first just about the setting, the environment, the World War I. I think everybody was thrown for a little bit of a curveball on that. No, I mean, everybody's talking about World War II, future, or contemporary, and then they went a little further than I think anybody really thought. Brett, I know you had a little bit of inside information, but, what do you guys think, just broad strokes, macro picture, what do you think about the overall setting going so far back to World War I? Darth, why don't you start us off there?
So it was totally unexpected. Well, because I wasn't in the inner circle. If anybody with information inside would have known. But it was unexpected for me. But looking at the way that they're handling the gameplay, I can kind of get a feel for. They went World War I, but they decided to take a lot of liberties with it. So it's essentially Battlefield, old school, but with a World War I paint over it. Is kind of what it looks like right now. And we've only seen a little bit of the alpha, so that could change in other maps. They could have different feels to them. But right now, I'm sort of getting we want to keep it. We want to keep the infantry combat tight while at the same time changing up the theme a little bit.
Yeah, Kick. What are your thoughts on it?
I pretty much agree with everything you said. There was rumors early on that it was going to be World War I, but I wasn't sure they were going to be brave enough to pull the trigger on that with the recent direction they've gone in. But I'm really glad they did. They pulled it off really well. It's not going to my if you're looking for like 100% authentic World War I, go play for done. But this game's a good compromise between Battlefield and World War I in my eyes so far.
Yeah, everybody knows if you follow me on Twitter, I wanted the contemporary Battlefield 5. That was my choice. But I'd rather they go back back to where they're going than just another futuristic shooter. So I'm okay with it. Brett, what do you think?
I think that it's Battlefield 4 with a World War I steampunk skin.
I was going to use the word steampunk, but I hesitated. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I mean, you can debate whether all these guns were actually there or not. Fact of the matter is that most of them were prototypes, failed prototypes that just didn't work, and they have taken massive liberties and to implement this in, because quite frankly, a World War I game would be boring.
Yeah, right. That was all of our concerns.
Everybody out there who thinks that World War I is going to be fun, it's not. It's boring. It's not going to be fun. Nobody wants to play it. They go back to Battlefield 4, case closed. So they did what they needed to do, which was bring in submachine guns, light machine guns, having things that's actually going to be fun to play in. So especially like with the vehicles, tanks weren't like that back then. I mean, they just weren't. Especially when they start doing somersaults in the middle of the map and land on buildings, and then they still go. It just didn't happen that way. But you know what? It's more fun this way. So
physics were different back then, though. The world has evolved.
Physics were way different. That was like 100 years ago. Things changed.
Yeah, physics have
Did
evolved.
they discover physics back then?
They didn't even know what it was. Right? They didn't even. Did they discover gravity then? I don't know.
Yeah, I think they did a pretty good job with making it, at the very least, fun, but having just the setting, I think, is what really is what's good about it. I mean, it's just that they've dumbed down a lot of the gadgets, so they've cleaned that up, which I am super happy about.
Yeah, there's not as many.
So many of the gimmicky stuff is gone, at least in this build.
When
they come out with the final build, they may come out with some weird, funky.
There's going to be something
with C4 on it or something. I don't know. But the thing is that right now it's simplified. It's going back to just, infantry on infantry, gun on gun type stuff. And it feels better in that respect, even though that they have a couple of things that are kind of wonky.
Even if they add more on, there's going to be certain items we all hate. It's just, they have to do it. It's going to be a designer's baby. They're going to have to shoehorn it in. But I appreciate that they're starting very simple and then expanding rather than just piling it all in there, shoehorning it in for release and then figuring it out later. So hopefully this reverse approach will be a lot better. I had a lot of the same concerns. I'm going to echo you guys on this, so we shouldn't rehash it too badly. But, yeah, I was concerned, like you said, if it was authentic Battlefield 1, it was going to be boring. It was going to be really slow, not fun. I really, so far, like the way they've gone. It's very basic paper, rock, scissors. Classes have clear limitations. They have clear roles they're supposed to try and play and that kind of stuff. It's not going to be everybody runs the same class, although I've seen a little bit of that so far in Alpha. But I think that's also people not figuring out what the other classes can do.
Right.
So I think
there's
that'll
also
balance
the
out.
limitations of the fact that it's an alpha and they're not going to show you all the cards.
Yeah,
they might not even
one
exist
map
yet.
that might skew one way too. It's really hard to tell. So
We're
I guess
getting breadcrumbed right now for sure.
before I meant to kind of lead off with this, Brett. Are you under NDA? You went to the event, basically. I don't think I've said that. So
okay, so here's the way it works. I know what you're
what can I
ask
ask you, basically?
So basically, the build that we played in Los Angeles is the exact same build that you're playing now.
Okay, cool.
So while I can't show footage, or I can't actually technically talk about it because it's virtually the same exact build, ask me questions, and you're seeing basically what I saw.
But you can't comment
is,
on any game modes or maps you may have played, right? Is that basically what it is?
You guys have played all the game modes and maps that
you didn't play more.
Yeah, like I said, what you guys are seeing right now is what we played. The only difference is that I actually got to sit down and talk to, David Sutherland. Patrick Block was there for a little while, as well as a couple of the other coders and designers of the game. So that was like the big difference, is that we actually got to talk to the
insight,
devs,
right?
And you guys,
all right,
are
cool. So
not.
so that all meshed easily then. I was worried that it was going to be this thing where you're going to have to dance around. So all right, cool. But you only played the one map, so we really don't have any idea. We've seen like a description of the maps, correct? I haven't even read them myself, but I think there's some kind of thing on the website. I remember seeing tweets about it, but no pictures or anything like that. So we don't know much about the maps. We know the one map, and I guess you can look through the trailer.
Yeah, there's a ton of leaked or rumors or whatever stuff out there that may or may not be correct or final or who knows.
All right, so let's look right into the closed out. We'll get into kind of a little bit more of the details. Why don't we touch on the map design first, because it's kind of I think that's the highlight of what my experience so far. I really enjoyed this map. This is kind of what I hoped I would like to have seen more. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like, I'm already forgetting the names of Battlefield 4 maps, like Gauntlet Railway with the little villages, going on. But I think it's
terrible map.
I'm not. I have issues with it, but I like what they're trying to do. Is they're trying to do the cluster of buildings obviously for infantry, but it does seem like every map has this wide open area, or every objective has this wide open area for it, for a tank playground and stuff. But one thing I definitely want to highlight is the destruction is back. you feel like when you hide in a building, you are really hiding. You're not just going, neener, neener, you can't kill me now, I'm in behind a wall.
It's back to an extent.
Yeah, it's not full-fledged, but you don't get this feeling like I'm behind this, and maybe I haven't found them yet, because I should say I have, 10 hours played, probably not a lot, but on one map, I guess it's 10 hours on one map, but yeah, even when you hide and you crouch, you don't get this feeling of safety anywhere, really. I don't anyway. And so I like that. I welcome that back. It's not like, oh, I'm behind this little half wall. They can't blow this up, so, whatever. They got to come and get me. I can just stand here. No, people can get you, and that's cool. I like that. That's probably it's that suspense. It's that, did somebody see me run through that door, and are they just going to blow this wall up and I'm dead? Or, so it's fun. So what do you guys think kind of the overall map? Brad, I'm going to go to you since you chimed in very quickly. You seem like you have an opinion on this a little bit. Why do you think it's a terrible map, and kind of go into that a little bit?
Why Gold Mud was terrible?
I thought you were talking about this one. Gold Mud, I didn't like Gold Mud.
No, this map right here is golden. This map right here, I think, for Conquest, is probably one of the most well-balanced maps out there, minus the Behemoth, which is oh god.
Yeah.
But
gotta get that AC-130.
The Behemoth 130.
Basically, yeah.
Right,
AC-130.
I thought you were talking about this map. Okay, that clears it up. So
but
Equalizer.
No, on Scar, on Scar, I like it because it gives a lot of really good infantry maps or infantry flags to play on.
Yeah.
And the transition from flag to flag is not as bad as what we saw in Battlefield 4.
No.
Battlefield 4, let's take Goldmud for an example. It was very difficult as an infantry player to move from flag to flag unless you stayed up to the north part of the map. There's a 3-flag cluster up there. That's where basically the infantry had the best shot at having fun on that map. Everywhere else was like, pleh. On Scar, there is enough cover and enough lanes that you can actually go from flag to flag to flag throughout the entire map. In fact, I have games where I run literally a big circle around the map, and it doesn't actually feel like I'm just sitting there running for the entire game. And also with the way the spawn system is working right now, the spawns are not on the flags. They're a little bit further away. So you bump into more infantry players when you're going to a contested flag, especially if you're coming in from, like a good example is if I think it's the Germans, which B flag would be like their home flag or closest to their home flag, and you're the allies coming in from like Delta. If you're coming in from Delta and Bravo's being contested, the Germans will spawn like slightly over to the right at times. So you're going to actually run into the Germans before you get to the flag if you're reinforcing from Delta.
Yeah, if you spawn on the flag, you almost have to retake it because they spawn you so far away. Yeah,
exactly. So the map feels really good just in respects of the infantry player. Vehicles, though, I think that right now the vehicle issue is just the fact that there's nothing out there that can reach out and touch them. Once they're in the city, right, it's awesome because you can take them down real quick. But they do have just a little bit, I think, too much freedom out there in the open. They can kind of snipe at you, which would be like the one downfall that I have with this map is that it's too easy for tanks to go right out in the middle of a field and just snipe all day long. And then because they got a self-repair and they don't have to get out, there's really no danger there for them.
Yeah, I don't like that change.
I think the map is freaking awesome.
What do you think, Kick? Go ahead, Arthur. You got something to say?
No, I've heard that complaint in general about tanks. I just want to chime in real quick that there aren't a whole lot of ways to reach out and touch them at long range right now, and that might just be an alpha thing where it's just we don't have all the toys yet. But it's definitely something for them to pay attention to.
Yeah, I don't understand the self-heal on the tanks, why that was necessary, but I don't know. Maybe that'll clarify itself a little further down the line. Go ahead, Kick. What are your feelings on the kind of the map design and just kind of general feel of the environment, I would say?
I actually love the map design, and I don't know, has anyone confirmed if the soldier movement is a little bit faster than Battlefield 4? And does it feel quicker to you guys, or is it just me?
Feels the same to me.
See, my problem is I haven't played BF4 in so long.
It looked very samey.
Yeah.
But
it could be a combination of just tighter map making, like it could just be... I do feel like it's a quicker pace, I guess. I don't know if the guys...
Yeah, because you don't feel like, kind of like what Brett said, even when you're on the perimeter of the map, or even going from point to point, it doesn't feel like there isn't stuff going on in between every point you're going to. I do feel like because they are rewarding people so much to play the objective, especially more so on the attacking side, people are starting to pay attention, and you're kind of getting this clockwork rhythm going on maps. You cap B, everyone goes to C, then you start losing D, so you kind of got this back and forth.
You get a flood.
That's been really fun. I agree with the tank situation. I don't think they're unbalanced. I do think that when they're, because I just did it. Like I was streaming right before we went live, and I was doing that exact same thing. I was making sure I kept my distance out in the field and was just peppering canister shells at people, picking them off from like 100 yards away, because there's no real way, unless they flank and get behind you and sneak up on you, you're fine.
Yeah, I haven't messed with vehicles too much.
I agree with that.
What is going to be the balance? Do we know of a balance that's going to be there? Just isn't here. Obviously, I'm thinking air or something like that. Like,
didn't they have anti-tank rifles in the game?
Yeah,
Yeah.
But they're hard to use.
Round.
Yeah.
But the problem right now is that there's the rocket rifle thing that
the
Assault has.
actual, yeah.
The problem with that is that you have to be stationary.
Yep.
So while the tank can kill you in one hit, you have to shoot him 5 times.
Right.
Not only do
what
you
is
have
it,
to
Windows-
be stationary,
Windows
but you
kind of
also have
thing, or-
you have to bipod it up.
bipod.
Right. You have to be
So you have
prone
to
or in a
either lay
window.
down
Yeah.
or find a ledge. Well, it's incredibly difficult, especially if you're out in one of those fields and it's been shelled up pretty good, because all of a sudden you'll lay down and there's a slight little lip up in front of you from the ground, and you shoot the ground in front of you instead of the tank. And even if you don't, if you hit the tank then has, okay, I'm going to wheel around this way. There's the guy. Shoot him. He's dead. Now, at the most, maybe the infantry guy gets 2 shots in you. But heck, because of the self-repair and how fast it is, it's way too easy. Unless you have like 3 or 4 assaults hitting you at once, you're totally fine.
Yeah, and they only average like 15 damage. That's all I've seen, anyways. Is like 15 damage, and you're between the reload and laying out there with your bipod and your dick in the breeze, you're screwed. Because when you're in the tank and you're getting fired at or hit, it has that gray indicator that lets you know where it's coming from too. So
right. And there's turrets all around the tanks. Some of them anyway. You know, there's guys that can be watching your flanks the whole time. So you can't really sneak up on them. A lot of the flags have approaches that you can kind of sneak up, break line of sight. But like you're saying, once you get to the outskirts of those little, there's not as much, or high ground especially. Some of the guys are talking about like the pace being close to Battlefront and stuff, and I can see that. So why don't we just say, like, to somebody that hasn't played the alpha, like Darth hasn't had hands on, what would you compare this game to in the Battlefield line? Like, what kind of blend? I mean, there's obviously a couple that jump out at me. I've heard a lot of people say different combinations. Some of the guys are saying movement like Battlefront, this kind of thing. Would you akin it to any particular games? I don't know. Kick,
BC2?
BC2?
yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Yeah,
I've heard
BC2, but a little quicker.
It feels like BC2, except for now you can strafe run.
Thank you.
In terms of movement, because
That's so
right
weird
now
when you
there's like no fall damage from 2-story buildings.
Yeah.
So the movement is incredibly fast paced. You know, you can go upstairs, jump out, flank around the guys, that type of stuff, going in and out of buildings. Plus, add in the fact that now you can just, okay, there's a wall there, blow it up, go through it, type situation.
That's definitely where I get that vibe from. Yeah,
it's a little bit. It feels very Bad Company 2-ish to me. Still has, I think, a flavor of Battlefield 4 with it, especially when it comes to like the guns, the way they feel. Like the guns to me feel like they did before, and this is completely just my opinion, but they feel like before Battlefield 4 took out the visual recoil.
Yeah.
That's what the gunplay feels like right now to me.
Yeah, we'll get the gunplay in just a minute. Let's just kind of finish this comparison a little bit. Kick, what were you gonna say? You gonna say BC2?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that assessment. Maybe a little bit quicker, and the fact that you can vault over any wall that you see, you don't just have to blast a hole. It's a little weird.
Yeah, that is weird. There could be over your head, and he like jumps up and grabs it, and
And, well, the animation's really slow. And
little mirror's edge going on.
It's a little clunky when you get on the top. You can get stuck on the top sometimes. But in Battlefield 4, you couldn't destroy a wall or vault over it.
Right.
Now you can destroy
freedom.
the wall and you can vault over it.
Yeah,
So I feel like
that's really good news, actually, because I think one of the primary complaints I have about Battlefield 4 is the way that they constructed the game was not consistent. So you'd constantly come across things that look like you should be able to jump over it, and
Like
you
a
could
twig?
not.
You still have
sidewalk?
still glitchy in that respect.
Okay.
Basically, when I was talking to one of the developers, he's like, if you're having issues with vaulting, look at the ledge. So actually put your crosshair on the ledge to vault, which I don't like. Because there's a lot of times where like I found myself vaulting inside of a blown up building, and it launches me up to the wall, and then I end up dying because there's a fight coming in there. There's also an issue, especially on that B flag, where you can't get up that rubble wall. That little rubble wall that's like, I don't know, maybe about 3 feet high. It is almost impossible to get up that. Unless you hit it just at the right angle, it's almost impossible to get up. So they need to tweak the vaulting system. I think they need to lower, like, the, I don't know, I guess the threshold that it actually activates. because, like I said, if you're on C flag and you're running around with the rubble in those buildings, oh, it is murder. Your foot gets stuck on rubble. You have to jump over it, and the next thing you know, you're launched over a window, and there's 3 guys sitting on the other side, and you're like, oh shit.
Or you get in the buildings that are like semi-destructed, and the floor is falling out. Some things are. I mean, I'm just gonna say alpha gonna alpha, but
and that right there is irritating because a lot of times, if you've noticed the holes or the holes in the buildings, you have to find a slope. So if it like stops immediately, you can't vault up, even though it looks like you should be able to vault over.
You could outside on a wall. Yeah, it's something with the mechanic. One thing that jarred for me is I don't know if you guys, when you're up on some of that, is it B, where that one building everybody goes up in the 2nd or 3rd story, and then the roof kind of gets blown out, and you look like you should be able to just jump out onto the roof, but they seem to have clearly disallowed roofs. Is that correct? Have you guys been able to get on like roofs?
Because you
get on a roof all the time.
Yeah.
So there must be some with the destruction. Okay, it must be some with the destruction.
Right now, yeah, Delta roof, go all the way up to the 3rd story, blow out the wall going out towards the meadow, so away from the
you walk out
flag, and then you just jump right on top of the roof.
See, I've been trying to do not on that building, but over. Yeah, you'll be the same idea though. There's a hole, and you're like, oh, there's a roof. I could get there, and it's like just will not let you on there. But it must be something with the physics of it or something. And I didn't know if they were just disallowing roofs as a policy or whatnot. But
no, you can get on anything. Guys parachuting down can get on just about anything in the map.
Okay. Yeah, see, that's just me not
having
the
blimp.
We'll get to the blimp. You seem like you want to talk about this blimp. Let's go to gunplay, though. You touched on a little bit. Kickstand, how do you enjoy the gunplay here?
I'm a big fan of... I don't know about you guys. I played mostly NG in Battlefield 4. I only played Assault on the infantry heavy maps like Lockers and Metro. But for me, my go-to... Yeah, I know. Well, like I said... my go-to class was almost always the carbine class because they were decent at everything, and I'm really glad they kind of took that away on with Battlefield 1. Like the SMGs, the RNG spread kind of makes it so you really can only fight close quarters with them.
Yeah,
I like the med class guns, the rifles you use on the med class. The scouts seem decently balanced. I'm a little surprised how well they're balanced this early on, although it's not really that early on. I can't give them that
I think it's really an interesting take that they've done with this as opposed to Battlefield 3 and 4, where the guns in this game are sort of dedicated towards a certain purpose. And even if you try to, control them, you're not going to have a whole lot of luck beyond a certain range. And I've heard quite a few YouTubers complain about that, and I don't know if their complaints are actually merited or not based on what they're trying to do with the design in this game.
Well, they can't do everything with one gun is what it is.
I think it's an inherently nice niche little skill gap, because when I run with an SMG as an assault player now, I stick to buildings, run from cover to cover. I'm never in wide open spaces. I keep my engagements close. Like, you have to adapt to the gun. Whereas before, especially in BF4, you could attachment whore the crap out of your carbine and make it decent at anything, depending on your play style.
Your gun dictates how you play. Your play doesn't dictate how you use the gun. Exactly. I was talking with Pun about this. This game is not going to be about recoil control. It's not going to be about twitch aiming. It's going to be about moving, positioning, flanking. You almost like lock up the kill before you even pull the trigger. That's how I have to play because I have terrible aim.
No, the problem right now with the gunplay, and this is what most YouTubers are probably angry about, and this is one of the things that we discussed in Los Angeles. Right now, it's based on random spread.
Yeah.
So it's not necessary. So the issue right now is that, yeah, the guns are separating the classes, which they should, but they're doing it in the incorrect way. Right now, it is not based on a person who puts in the time and the effort and learns how to actually play the game.
I agree.
Instead, it rewards a player who jumps on once 100%. Every 2 or 3 days a week, maybe an hour or two a day.
Doesn't really even reward them. Yeah, it levels the playing field.
That's it.
Yeah.
Exactly. It levels it and makes it fair for everybody. So instead of making this guy raise up to their level, they're taking these guys and bringing them down to this level, which isn't fun. It's not fun because here's the thing. Those guys that are wanting to be, basically raised up to that level without actually working,
they're not going to get any better.
They're not going to be in the game 6, 7, 8, 10 months down the road.
Right.
The guys that are going to be playing the game are people like us who learn those mechanics, who are the ones who actually take the negative aspects of a gun and then learn how to counter that and make it an advantage for us.
That was going to be my biggest
Anybody who's ever said that being able to counteract recoil as well as being able to aim well is not a skill, they've got a loose screw in their head.
It was just a little
really do.
easy in
And
Battlefield
that
4,
right
I think.
there,
Yeah.
That's a cornerstone of first-person shooters.
They're Call of Duty players.
You play a first-person shooter, not a first-person dice roll.
Yeah. You don't
That's
feel
what
like
it's turning into.
I joke about my own aim all the time. I'm not an aim guy. But I like that factor. Like, I feel, I don't know, maybe I'm a glutton for punishment. If I ever find a first-person shooter I'm just naturally good at, I'll probably stop playing after a couple weeks. Like, I need that reason to grind, to get better, to improve. That's why I'm loving, we'll get to Overwatch later, learning all the characters, how they work, that kind of stuff. The meta of it,
is a perfect example of that. It's
Absolutely.
too easy. It was so boring. I could reach out across the map and hit anybody because everything was fair. That was their solution to making it fair.
But this to me,
boring.
like, I don't
let me learn how to take a gun that is powerful but sucks, utterly sucks if you just hold mouse 1, and let me learn how to tame that bad boy and kick some ass with it. Then I actually feel like I've accomplished something.
This feels more akin to Battlefront to me, where it's a casual jump in, get the epic moments than it is to actually play this game for a year and see yourself improve and become a better player. And that's my concern as far as longevity for me.
One of the things that they have done in the gunplay itself, in spread, and I'm sure you guys, if you watched a lot of the other high-level YouTubers, high subscriber YouTubers.
Yeah, I was going to say.
You guys have probably heard them mention this kind of stuff. The spread on SMGs is actually flipped. It's counterintuitive than what you are used to. So traditionally, the way it worked in spread was the more you held down mouse 1, the worse the spread got. Well, the way it is now on SMGs is the complete opposite. Yeah. So now, the longer you hold mouse 1, the tighter the spread pattern gets. And if you don't believe me, take the SMG class out and stop tap firing.
What gun did that? I think it was Division, right? Division did that too with the LMGs? Like, the longer you shoot, the narrow.
Not too sure.
I think somebody just did the same thing.
But the problem with it is, you have several problems. One, it takes out a good player who should be able to defend himself at long distance with an SMG by tap firing. Not necessarily get the kill, but at the very least make that guy that's across map that's shooting at him duck, dive, and weave. Okay? He's got to have an ability to defend himself in some way.
Right.
It's not fun if you just got to be
doesn't have to be easy.
And hope that the other guy sucks that bad. Because eventually somebody is going to be good enough to where they're going to pick off those players with no fight whatsoever. The second thing that's irritating about this is you're leaving it up to randomness. One of the things that is so frustrating in a first-person shooter is randomness. You need to be able to counteract that spread, counteract that recoil. You need to be able to learn how to use a gun, like I said, take the negatives, overcome them, and be able to use it to the best of your ability to get really good kills. As it is right now, it's a complete dice roll when it comes to SMGs at a distance. At a distance. So, you might as well just be sitting there. A guy on Twitter said it perfectly. He said, all you got to do is just hit F, and then it'll say, oh, you got 100 crit, and the guy dies. I mean, it feels like it's that bad right now. They need to make that change. Now, they did say in Los Angeles that they are testing that system. Will it stay in? I don't know. But at the very least, they got a lot of negative feedback at LA.
I would hope so with that group of more harder core players.
And hopefully they are going to be switching it. Now, the LMGs, they said that only select LMGs are actually using this. Now, for an LMG, I think this is actually a good thing.
I think it's perfect.
It gives a differentiation.
Because right now, an LMG, I feel like he doesn't need to be the guy that runs around running and gunning. And as long as they don't make it like where if you tap fire, the second shot is off to the left and the first shot's off to the right. As long as they make maybe one or two shots pretty darn close to where you can defend yourself, like I said, at distance, just making sure that guy, ducks out of the way or has to move.
Yeah, you don't got to get a headshot.
It's perfectly fine. Because those LMGs are built to lay down, bipod up, and just shoot. And
just that sounds correct for that class.
Yeah, it's finally, because BF4, you could just run and gun with them all day. I
Yeah,
actually like that. Like I was just in a round where I was goofing off with the scout class, and I actually got killed by an LMG player because he was bipoded. He was laying on the trigger. He was sending rounds downrange in my direction. Yeah. Well, he was using the class properly, but and he was also suppressing the living shit out of me, which is a whole nother topic.
The pun wanted to touch on. Well, you can touch on it. Good pun's asking to talk about it, so go for it. I don't have a lot of I was lost a little bit, and I think I talked to Pun about it. It was just like. It was like the opening scene of Saving Private Ryan for me. The first couple hours, it was just so much going on, so much to die from. Like it was hard for me to differentiate like the screen shake and like the suppression and me just being lost, and so I don't have as much about suppression and stuff, but like my biggest thing was like Brett and we've touched on is I don't feel intrigued about putting the time in with the weapons right now, and it's like you see someone 200 yards away, it's just like you don't even try to engage, you just evade because you have no chance at all, like, and you can't even slow him down. So that's my thing. To me, it's just about a longevity thing. Like I don't feel like I want to put the time in. There's no reason to put the time in. It's like, maybe I'll get him next time. Maybe I'll roll the dice properly. You know, it's kind of like an RPG in that sense. My second thing, and maybe I'm nitpicking here, but it drives me absolutely nuts. It goes kind of along with discretion. I hate the iron sight thing. Now, I don't know. Like, I feel like when I aim down sights, I'm like trying to aim through a folding chair. Like, it's like all these things are in my face. The clips, the magazines. Sorry, I said the C word. Are up in your face, and you know, like then some LMGs have scopes on them, and I don't know. This is the contemporary Battlefield fan wanting that, but this drives me nuts. So then I try to go to more hip fire, so go more to the assault class and the SMGs, and again, I feel like that's not that's satisfying for me, but that's probably on me. But does anybody have a problem with the optic system here? Obviously it's Battlefield 1. They can't be throwing red dots and Cobra sights on it, but is anybody else just frustrated?
I'd like to talk a little bit, just touch on the suppression stuff.
Yeah,
so
no,
right
go ahead.
now,
That's fine.
the suppression feels really, really bad. There are times when you're in a gunfight where it completely blurs your screen, and because of the ambient effects that are happening, so the smoke rising off the ground or the rain coming in or the fog or whatever it may be, there's so much clutter now on the screen that's trying to bring you into the game that when you add in suppression on top of that, as bad as it is, because it's worse right now than it was in Battlefield 4, you can't see anything. You lose track of what's going on in front of you. And then the addition with the iron sights, and a lot of the iron sights, like you say, take up a lot of room. And even the ones that don't, there's a lot of visual movement. So it bobbles around on your screen quite a bit, and it's very easy to lose your target within all of that. Yeah. The other thing that's really annoying is getting the dirt pushed up on your screen every time a tank shell or a grenade goes off close to you. You know, it's like, hey, you know what? I know something just went boom close to me. I don't need half my face covered in mud.
I'd like to
realize that.
Find out where it was.
As well as getting the red jelly on your face for what seems like 10 hours after you get hit. You know, when you get hit, initially, yeah, sure, put up a little red buffer, but it stays on there for way too long. Way too long. It needs to hit you maybe 2 seconds at the most. I would say only about maybe 0.5 to 1 second long, and then go away. Or at the very least, just stay as a red border around your screen. But right now, the way it is, it obscures way too much. I actually posted this in the feedback forums as well, and getting a lot of people behind it. So hopefully they are going to be kind of switching that up a bit.
Yeah, I think like you said, it's just the different layers. And again, we have the Battlefront effect where it's more about like a movie production. It's a Michael Bay experience. And then you have more Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, where they're kind of trying to give you an authentic kind of first-person shooter. It's about balance and fun, you'd think. I'm making generalities here. We don't know quite where this game's going to go, or at least I don't yet. I mean, it gives you a ton of immersion. You feel like you're in a movie. You feel like you're in it. Like that's fine, but that doesn't necessarily make a good shooter. Like that doesn't make a good experience as far as playing. So where are they going to go with this? Are they going to go more towards the Battlefront, where they're trying to just create these moments for you to be like, wow, that was sick, but I just died to bullshit? Or are they going to go to a decent game that has, like I said, maybe because once you get the fog, you get the gas masks, you get all this other stuff piling on, and then you're trying to hold this bucking Bronco of an SMG or whatever, and I don't know. It just feels like to me, it's like I'm just going to close my eyes here and hope he's dead when I open them, because I just can't really do much else than that. So it's too much impairment. I hate visual impairment. That's why I hated suppression. I don't like all that stuff. So they need to chill with that. I think there's just, again, because now you have your visual, the dirt, the blood, the gas, the fog, suppression, and then like I'm talking about, some of them you pick up and there's furniture. The gun is literally in your face like this. So I don't know. Like I just feel like I'm like, I can't even see. I'm like claustrophobic, I guess is the word I'm looking for. So
I think the word immersion is going to turn into what we had in Battlefield 4
Levolution.
with Levolution.
Levolution.
It's going to be the word that they use
word.
so much, and then it's hated towards the end of the game, because it's just like it's like putting or having your players jump into the vehicle. It takes me out of the game. It whips it around. It's so disorientating. I mean, I feel sick at the end of it, and then I might even die. I would rather have a system to where I just run up to the vehicle and I have to push and hold E for a certain amount of seconds. The circle fills up, and then boom, I'm in the vehicle. I would much rather, if you want to have the person outside of the vehicle be a little bit more in harm's way, where it's a risk to go in there during a battle, then let me have that option.
They have the animation now, right?
Yeah, don't let me have this animation that just makes me sick at the end of it. It's terrible.
Especially, what is it, the Jeep buggy, the armored buggy, when you're getting into that thing, I just want to puke all over my... It's insane.
We got exactly what we asked for.
When the Duke boys get in?
Years or more, where people are like, I totally want animations going to vehicles. I want animations going to vehicles. We got it finally, and guess what?
This is what you got. I agree with that. I think that you can keep the animation system to a certain extent. It's the elaborate, like, opening the door is fine. Maybe you fade to black and you're in the car or the vehicle, but especially when you're swapping between seat 3 and 1 in the bomber, same thing. It's very nauseating when you're hopping over the pilot, and it's almost too much of a good thing, like Dar said. Because I bitched about it in Battlefield 4. I think it's kind of cheesy just to hit E and you're magically, especially when you're shooting at an enemy and they just disappear. But I like the compromise of having to hold E, because then they're not instantly saved. They've got to earn getting in that vehicle.
Which would work the same way, too, getting out. Like, I hate the fact that you can just jump in and out.
I think that was part of the complaints as well, as people didn't like the magical get out. I have no idea when they're exiting their vehicle problem. So you could have somebody drive up in a Jeep and you'd be like, well, I'm going to take a guess at when he's getting out. And
what side?
And what side?
He knows where he's getting out, but the person engaging him doesn't. It's I like that compromise though. Holding E, that's a good compromise.
Yeah, but I think
it's not a quick time event. I mean, well, it kind of is, but you're exposed for that period of time before you get in the vehicle. That's the one good thing about the animation, is it's so long that if you're in a gunfight with that person, they're exposed. So.
But does it really? Is it like vaulting in Battlefield 4, where like it's I haven't done enough? Like, is it true to hit them?
You can kill the guy off of it, but I mean, he does move around a little bit. But I mean, like I said, it's nothing that really is too. There's no wow factor to it, in my opinion. It's a gimmick. It's one of those things that people are going to look at and they're going to go, oh my gosh, an animation, and then they play the game for 10 hours and they go, oh my god, an animation. I mean, it's going to get to the point where it's just too annoying.
I liked it at first, but it's getting old.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. That's always
because it does add to that immersion, that pamphlet keyword, that bullet point, but. After an hour or two, it's just, especially some of the animations are so elaborate that it just totally you're like you said, you're spinning like a top. Your view is going all over the place. And
now I do like the one in the bomber, and the reason why I like the one in the bomber is because if you're just two-seating it, guy flying it, guy in one of the gunner's positions, you can't just go automatically from front to back when you're trying to defend yourself from planes. And I do like that because it kind of makes you commit just a little bit. Like, okay, I need to be a back gunner in this fight right now because this fighter plane may get on my ass. Or, hey, do I want to stay in the front while I'm tailing this guy and try and get his gunners out of his plane? Right. That type of thing. So you kind of make – I kind of like that one, but it's not nearly as severe as what we have going into the tanks or like in some of the gun positions as well. So, I mean, if they need to do something toning it back. I would rather have like the camera stay at a certain angle and like have your body
show it third person. Yeah. Or even
third person would be a good one there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That would be amazing.
Don't throw my camera everywhere on the screen. That's why I don't like screen shake. I don't like screen shake because it's disorientating. It takes me out of the game.
I think what you're saying, we're throwing the immersion word. I'm reading chat and Winnings in here talking about, immersion's what separates Battlefield from the CODs and the other, like the dirty bombs and these things. But there's a point where you got to
what separates Battlefield from the Call of Duties is the teamwork aspect as well as the game modes themselves. The immersion has absolutely nothing to do with Battlefield separating it from other games.
This argument is always going around Twitter. It's gone on forums. It's on the Reddit. It's always this realism, immersion, authenticity, all these things people think they want. And developers argue this to get the liberty that they want. Realism is not what you want in a game. You want immersion to a degree, but that doesn't need to be the buzz term. We all, we wanted dynamic maps. We didn't necessarily want evolution. We want, immersion, but we don't want to be in a Michael Bay movie. We want, we want to feel like we're on a battlefield, but I don't need blood and gore up in my face while I have suppression and I'm, dealing with random recoil. There's got to be a balance there of, it can't have none and it can't have too much. And it's not an easy job. And that's why I hope people are giving feedback. But I want to see where they're going to go with this, whether they're going to go more towards the actual first-person shooter balanced kind of, I'm going to use the word loosely, competitive, where, you know, it's balanced, and or if they're just going to go towards the experience machine of Battlefront and just kind of like, hey guys, you might not be able to control your gun so well, but you're going to have fun and nice vistas, and you're going to have dirt everywhere, and you can kind of go back with a movie maker and make a movie out of this, you know. But
I would hope they learn from Battlefront. I take that back. I really think they're still licking their wounds from Battlefront.
But are they though? I don't know if they are.
Well, they made their money, but I mean, they're still releasing DLC for that nobody's playing right now. Like nobody is playing that.
I agree with you 100%, but I don't know what corporate and I have noticed there's been quite a little bit of turnover going on there right now. So, well, with the CEO just left and a couple other guys are leaving, so I don't know. Maybe we can't predict so easily what's going on, but then again, I don't know that they have much actual input.
As far as like when it goes with realism, number one, if you want that, go Arma. Go to Arma,
Squad.
go to Verdun.
Same idea. There's games out there that provide
Squad.
that. Yep.
There are games out there that cater to that. What you're trying to do is have a Battlefield game and then have an Arma game mashed into one. And you know, if you try to do both of them, you're going to come out with a big pile of poo. It just won't work because the game is not going to be good at being Battlefield and the game's not going to be good at being Arma. Instead, you got this hybrid blah. And then they're like, well, you know what? I want these aspects, but I don't want these, so I'm going to go play Arma. Well, I like these aspects, but I don't want these, so I'm going to go play Battlefield.
Right.
So the game is going to fall flat on its butt.
Yeah.
You need to stick with what works in Battlefield, which is the teamwork aspect. And I know you guys in chat are going, what teamwork? What teamwork? Hey, grab 5 friends and go into a server. If you don't have 4 other people that you can play with, you need to start talking to people more online. I mean, it's super easy to meet people. And if you don't add in that teamwork, and if you don't add in the map element of it, then you're not going to have a Battlefield game, and you need to focus on more of that kind of stuff, not this immersion, not this, hey, let's try and make it more realistic, especially when they're talking about period realism. That's just not fun. It's not fun.
Not in the setting at all.
That's what this game needs to be. It needs to be an arcade-like shooter that's fun.
Yeah, see, I agree with Polly. The reason I like Battlefront is it's kind of a middle ground between the Armas and Squads and the CODs and Dirty Bunny. Like it's got authenticity, it's got some immersion, it's got some realism. You know, it's kind of this blend of everything, which I think it does well. But it was still a fast-paced shooter. It wasn't as fast as like Micro Time to Kill, but you know, and that's I'm again going to winning in chat that I'm a proponent of a longer Time to Kill. I feel like that's better. I don't want to see it follow Counter-Strike. Like I don't think they're gonna follow Counter-Strike. What somebody was saying. I just think they need to stick with what Battlefront is. Or Battlefield. See, that's a slip. You can see what I'm worried about. You see what I'm worried. I agree on that. I worry. I don't know. I don't know if they see Battlefront as the big mistake we all do. I don't know.
The core things that have always made Battlefield work are the class system, the scale of combat, and a more arcadian, and no mean like straight up arcade, a more arcade approach to the gameplay versus realism. Like if I think about Battlefield 1942, I think about that game was definitely not a real military simulation. If I wanted to play that at the time, I would have played. Forget what the progenitor to Arma was, but essentially it's along the same lines. I would have played that instead. It was a way of introducing people to the period while at the same time having gameplay that was closer almost to Team Fortress in its arcadiness, as opposed to Operation Flashpoint. That was the game I was trying to think of.
OF. Yeah.
But it's really sort of interesting seeing how Battlefield has evolved over the years to sort of incorporate more of the gunplay elements of games that have done gunplay well. Like, for example, I played Battlefield 2 back in the day, and I was really unimpressed with it because I could see the direction they were trying to take, but they weren't quite there because I always felt the gunplay in Counter-Strike at the time was much better. So I tended to play that for the gunplay, and I wanted to play Battlefield primarily for the vehicle combat and the scale of combat, which I kind of got in Battlefield 2, but at the same time it felt like a poor blend at the time. And then I left the series for a long time because Warcraft, and then I came back with Battlefield 3, and I could see where they were sort of taking the direction of the game. They were really starting to focus on, we really want to tighten up that gunplay experience.
Yeah, I feel like they were... Yeah.
Not really there in Battlefield 1942, but had been in previous titles. It sounds like Battlefield Bad Company 2 is where they really started to get their stuff together. And what worries me, and worries everybody else, I'm sure, is with the sort of trend towards the Battlefront dumbing down, I guess we said, the skill gap, where it's like everybody can jump in and immediately be able to do what they want to do in a game. And 7 to 10 months down the line, or as in the case of Battlefront, 7 to 10 days down the line, we're all going, okay, well, what now?
Right. That's exactly my concern. Exactly.
And it's something to worry about, and I'm sure people have given a lot of feedback about it, and I think they've learned some lessons from Battlefront, but I worry after hearing some of the conversations tonight that they maybe haven't gotten all the way where they need to be again.
For me, the good parts really bring me back to Bad Company 2. Like we're talking about destructions, kind of the maps and things like that, but the bad parts absolutely bring me to Battlefront. So that's why I worry. I feel like there's a lot of design bleed over from Battlefront, without a doubt. I mean, I just think there's just so much to it. I think some of the movement is kind of like Battlefront 2, and maybe that's why I don't notice the speed, maybe. But I like the gunplay. I agree with it was a little too easy in Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, and I thought they were on a pretty good path there. I like what they were building. I wish they would have just kept building on that. Hardline doesn't really count because it's basically just a mod. But Battlefront, then they just kind of reinvented. Well, I mean, I don't even mean that in a dirty way, but it was basically the same, just copy paste over. They tweaked some things, but now they're like reinventing the wheel again, and I'm just like, I don't know where you're going with this, and I don't like it so far. So, I mean, time will tell. I mean, I guess there's not that much time left, but I don't know. I like what Brett's saying, where they're going to tweak the recoil, because I mean, you got to have predictable patterns, otherwise, where's the skill? Like you're saying.
Well, it's not the recoil; it's the spread.
It's the spread, the random.
Yeah, and hopefully they will. They said they're testing it, which doesn't mean that they're gonna. They may say, "Hey, we're gonna leave it in."
Right,
it may stay in as it is. I'm hoping that it doesn't.
We're
that
assuming
right there
things.
will kill any kind of long time play, in my opinion, because it dumbs it down for everybody, and it gets boring after a while. It really does. Yeah.
See, it's basically, who are they making this game for? Are they making it for us, a panel of guys that play hundreds of hours into these games, or is it going to be more the Battlefront side, where it's basically
it's debatable. I mean,
interactive movie trailer?
Still sold well, but then
right,
it was also Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. That was a marketing tool.
Right. Well, right. You got to figure they're savvy enough to see that too. But I don't know. So I'm trying to think of how to kind of wrap this up a little bit. Is there any big topics we kind of missed? I mean, Brett, do you want to go off on the blimp a little bit? That's obviously a big negative for you. I mean, I hate it too.
The behemoth. Well, I think the whole idea of the behemoths it's a shortcut to some problems within the game. Which actually could have a really, really simple solution, but they refuse to bring it back. So right now, the behemoth is there for a team. For those of you guys don't know, it's the big blimp. In other maps, it'll be a big battleship. Those two are confirmed. We haven't really heard anything else yet. But they are going to be like the equalizer. So a team is losing really bad. The condition for it to come out is usually by some sort of ticket margin or ticket bleed speed, which it will then come out. And only the losing team can use this. The winning team will never be able to either recapture it, take a flag and get it back, or whatever it may be. They'll never be able to use it. It will always be for that losing team. And while it doesn't have the greatest impacts at the moment, I've been in a few games where we've been able to turn it around because of that, but that was just because we had smart people playing in it. Right now, I've seen more people using it for kill whoring.
Oh, yeah.
They get up in the blimp and they don't really try and do anything around flags that really need it, or parachute out or anything like that, which it needs an option for that. It needs a spawn option if you're going to be using it, to be honest. But right now it just feels like you're kill whoring in it. And it's just very frustrating because there's not a whole lot out there that can really kill it unless you have guys up in airplanes, which most of the time the airplanes aren't going for it, which is really weird. I've seen my team dominate the sky and never go for the blimp. I don't understand it. It just baffles me. Or the flak cannons just don't seem to really do enough damage to them fast enough. It's very easy to find the flak cannon and kill them. I've done it many, many times. Just, I'm getting shot. Okay, there's a flak cannon. Boom, 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 boom. Guy's dead. So there needs to be kind of, I think, something to take him down a little bit easier. But I think the solution to what the behemoths are trying to bring in, which is a team getting rolled and then having an opportunity to come back, is quite simply put in a system to where you can cap out the other team. What we had in Battlefield 2,
Conquest,
we saw it. Conquest cap out.
Old school Conquest.
Yeah. Exactly. So when you completely cap the entire team, the entire map, the team can no longer spawn. The only people that are basically able to cap are the people who are still alive. So what it does is if a team's getting massively rolled over, instead of them having a behemoth and owning no flags around the map and still getting the crap stomped out of them, they can then just end the game and restart, auto-balance it, boom, there you go. That's the solution they need to put in here. not this behemoth blimp battleship thing, because you're just going to get people who are going to kill horror in it.
Yeah,
and then you get into situations where you're like, oh my God, we really, really need to take care of that guy. You're winning, right? Okay, so you've done what you need to do. You've attacked flags. You've been a good teammate, teamwork, all this other kind of stuff. But all of a sudden, the other team, they may get all of your pilots down. Okay, so they own the skies now, and they're able just to keep your planes out of it. Well, it's very easy for the fighter, especially, to strafe those flat cannons really fast, as well as bombers to come in, because there's going to be a lot of planes in the air. With the blimp doing the same exact thing, there's no way to take it out. And it's just so frustrating to die over and over and over and over again, knowing that you're winning, but it doesn't feel like you're winning. It feels like a massive, frustrating grind fest until that game is over.
It's like they're correcting a lack of teamwork with a mechanic that requires teamwork the other way. And it's just
it doesn't even have to be a lack of teamwork. Like I said,
well,
if the pilots of the other team, get their act together and they win the skies, and they're communicating, they can very easily keep the planes out for the other team. Very easily, especially if they stagger spawns. So if they stagger the spawns of the planes, there's really no way that they can team up and fight back.
Go ahead, Kiki.
You know what it feels like for me is it's kind of a marketing tool to say, oh, we give it to the losing team, so it kind of gives them a fighting chance to come back and the all shucks argument. But what it really feels like is just a way for people to have fun while they're losing.
Yeah,
like you're just gonna sit in that thing, pummel people on the ground, get your kills, get your KD, get your points, while your team is getting shit stomped.
A couple good moments. Yeah.
Exactly.
To me, it feels like if I used to be a sports game nut. And you used to play like NBA and all this stuff, and you'd be up by like 20 and against the AI, and suddenly the AI would make like every shot it threw up. It would like half courts drained, like crazy layups in. And then you go in the settings, you'd be like, oh, God, I got auto balance on. And you're like, God damn it. And you turn it off, and you'd be like, you'd still win, but they'd make it so much closer. And it felt so cheap.
Yeah, eternal comeback mechanics are kind of iffy. It's kind of interesting that they've changed Conquest almost entirely in its
based around
approach.
That too, which is weird.
And I have reservations about what they've done with my Conquest. But
what's the big mode they're bringing?
Oh, sorry, go.
The campaign
is
thing?
It Outbreak?
What is it called?
The one basically what's going to happen is like it actually includes several maps in one round or in one game.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of, right.
And basically what it does is you win one, and then it opens up to a second area. So it's almost like Rush, but in a bigger scope.
Yeah.
Where I think maybe that's where they planned on their behemoths coming into effect. And maybe it'll work a little bit better.
Before you move to the next map, it balances out a little bit.
Yeah, because you still get like behemoths and stuff in that mode, but in regular Conquest, it just doesn't feel like it fits.
Go ahead, Doth. I'll cut you off.
The thing about Conquest that's interesting to me is that they flipped entirely how the ticket system works. It counts up as a set instead of down. I worry a little bit about the tension at the end of games because I feel like there's a number of games I have in Conquest now where there's a lot of meta around, hey, don't spawn, or I need to take this flag right now, or I need to switch how the burn works. And I don't know everything about Conquest and Battlefield 1, but what it looks like is it's the tickets are either based on kills and just captures straight up, and then the timer runs out, or it doesn't. It did not look like there was a burn, but I could be wrong. No,
so the way it works for the ticket counts is that. As long as you have a flag, you are going to be getting a ticket.
Okay.
It's time based. So you have two flags. Like let's just use a very simple: 1 flag, 1 second. 2 flags, then you get 2 points in 1 second. 3 flags, you get 3 points in 1 second.
Yeah.
So that's how it's scaling. So you can actually have a let's just say a 4 flag map. You can have a 2-2 standoff, and tickets are still going up. You're still claiming points. But the problem though. No respawns or deaths actually count towards that.
No burns, right.
So it's strictly on flags.
Okay.
Which they probably thought that was...
I don't like because it's like you said, in a very tense game where it's going back and forth, well, the other team, there's really no penalty for just throwing bodies at a flag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see them in a boardroom saying, this is great, this will be put more focus on the objective, less on kill whoring and all this, but what it does is it just kind of like, again, compresses the skill again, whereas like, you just run around and do the same thing you're doing from the start to the end. There's no change in the tactics. There's no change in the strategy or the match. You just go out and run flags, which I guess is not a bad thing because we know how hard it can be to get people to cap flags. But like you said, one of the best elements was, spawn, don't spawn, nobody spawn. Like that was It was rare. It was a rare moment, so maybe it's not enough to worry about. But
Well,
those
it's
were the epic
especially-
matches.
It's especially important in competitive 10v10s and 8v8s.
I can see that, sure.
And even 5s. It's very important, and that aspect is now gone. Which, I mean, I know that most of the people watching this don't even care about competitive Battlefield, but for that aspect, for me, that right there is very sad to see that aspect go, because that created some really tense moments. I mean, you had, oh my God, there's only 3 more guys for my team alive because we only have 1 ticket left. Nobody can spawn in. We're a 2-2 flag standoff,
Right.
and all we have to do is either cap this flag or kill 3 more of their guys and force them to spawn.
Yeah.
And you don't have those tense moments.
I think that's really where it does shine, is competitive, because those players are that aware. You know, in a pub, most people aren't that aware. Let's kind of switch off.
Well, you're dragging it down from a team of 16 or 32
Yeah,
down to
right,
a team of 8 or 10. So I mean, there's a bit of a difference there. You know, I actually can talk to all of my teammates where I can't in a public game.
100%.
Like I said, you don't see it as much in a public game. While people do type in, "Don't spawn, don't spawn." Nobody really.
nobody even. Yeah, they just instinctively hit spawn. They don't even. Yeah.
Hell, most of the time, you know, I play with my chat off because I
Right.
just don't want to read the
Oh
crap
yeah, when I
that
was
pops up
recording
in
all
it.
the time.
So, you know, I mean, that right there doesn't really happen in pubs. But there are the off chances that it has affected a game in public play. But I still like the fact that, and you mentioned Metro and the other really crappy infantry map.
Lockers.
Lockers. You mentioned Metro and Lockers. That map actually does matter in terms of the ticket bleed for kills and respawns, because you'll have these massive surges to try and get onto a flag.
Mm.
And if they get
It has
wiped
a
out,
cost.
maybe
Right.
maybe 10 people died. That's 10 tickets now, all of a sudden gone from their side. Well, that can be a huge difference.
Sure, if it takes
on
you
those
3 tries to
infantry.
get it.
Yep.
And now that's not there. It's just
I think just innate and just naturally, the count down is more dramatic than the count up. It's you I don't know, at a quicker glance, you're like, yeah, our team's dying in essence here. You know, it's like we're gonna hit 0, and that's gonna be the end of it. Let's talk about something I think is done really well, because I feel like we've been a little critical, fairly, but you know, let's try to highlight something good. I love the spawn system. That interface where you kind of can see the map in real time.
Yeah.
And then you drop in. I really like that. I know the UI is supposed to transfer over. Is that going to transfer over to like Battlefield 4 and all that stuff too?
Oh yeah. The UI that you see right now,
The whole
for
thing,
alpha, is basically the same thing that we're going to be seeing for the game when it launches, as well as for previous Battlefields. They're
Yeah,
going to incorporate that.
that's cool.
They've actually released some pictures. You can go see
for
some of
4
them
and
have
Hardline.
on Twitter.
I don't think 3 is
Yeah.
doing it.
No.
Ah!
Is it?
Are you sure?
I don't think. Well, I've only
as
been
far as
testing
the
in
public
4, so-
knows, I haven't heard anything about 3.
Well, I mean, I could actually probably go tell you, because I was in the testing for that a couple months ago. But yeah, it's going to be coming back, which I like. I don't like web browser stuff. It's
Yeah, it's
So-
garbage.
I was so mad when I
Garbage.
first got 3 back, and I'm like, what have they done?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so glad they
Yeah.
got away from that.
And
So glad.
now that they're getting away from it, I'm like, I kind of like it now,
I know,
because I
then
have
it's-
better battle log, and I can
Well,
ban
I like the
terrible
idea of a
servers out
battle
of my
log,
list.
just because of like friends list, clans. So I hope there's that kind of goes with it. But yeah, server browsers and stuff. I don't know. I go either way this way. I'm so conditioned to battle log, it doesn't really bother me anymore.
The one thing I would like out of this change, and we're not going to get because it's Origin, is I would like more than 100 friends, please.
Oh my
Yes.
god, that's been promised
You
you
forever
wouldn't
too.
know how many times I heard that question in Los Angeles. Like,
Well,
when are we gonna get
a bunch of
and
YouTubers.
It's like,
right?
hey, guys, it's an origin thing, not a nice thing.
Yeah, they can't do anything about it. But it's 2016. I mean, come on. I can at least get 250 friends base with Steam.
Oh, man, yeah. Oh, but I'll tell you another thing too, guys. The spectator mode is going to be
Yeah,
spectacular.
go ahead, touch
Oh,
on that.
excellent.
That's fine.
One. Oh my god. So basically your spawn screen that you see is that is the tabletop mode. So you're not going to be getting that 2D
Yes.
picture that you
You
had.
see
in
the
Battlefield 4.
gunfights and the fire.
Exactly.
Yes,
You can
excellent.
see everything moving around because you're basically in the game. It's like a big free cam sitting up in the air. That's your tabletop
nice.
now. You're
That's
going to be
cool.
able to drop cameras in place and have a free cam to move around. Free cam is more intuitive now with the controls. You're going to be seeing some really cool. That they're going to be hopefully adding in the outlines for the players, so you're actually going to be able to see the outlines
like
on
CS:GO?
squads that
Okay.
you're spectating. Yeah,
That's cool.
the overall.
Look
Look of things, the HUD elements have been cleaned up a lot. They don't take up near as much space on your screen. So, I mean, they're doing some really, really cool stuff
So-
for Spectator.
Why don't we wrap this up on this? I'll ask it to you. And do we see a competitive? I mean, I know we don't have to, bash on how bad the support was, but
there will always be a competitive for Battlefield. One of the things that competitive players have always done has been able to carve out a little space for themselves.
Sure. Uh-oh.
We're getting hate on by public players or not, it's just going to happen. So there will always be a competitive scene. It's happened since Battlefield 1942, and it will happen for the rest of the Battlefield games from now on. We are going to be seeing a push into 10v10s and 8v8s. That is always going to happen, focusing on more of a vehicle aspect than an infantry aspect. And I think that's actually going to be a good thing. I'm thinking that Battlefield 1 is going to be focused more on the 8s and 10s rather than 5s like we've seen in the past games, because of the way the maps are designed at the moment, the fact that the game modes, we haven't had any good 5v5 game modes announced. There's a one rumored game mode that I can't talk about because I've overheard it with other conversations with developers and stuff, but it doesn't really feel like that. I mean, I've had people tell me that's the 5v5 mode. I'm like, that's not going to work for 5s. Yeah. Domination is terrible. It was terrible in Battlefield 4. It's going to be terrible here again. No, it's funny because people
it's domination. It is what it is.
They keep saying it's going to play differently than the domination because the tickets go up instead of down. No, it still plays the exact same.
That's even more important to have a burn in domination.
And you end up basically just running in circles over and over and over and over again. It's terrible mode. It's TDM with flags. It still is, and it will always be that way. Until they actually have main spawns, it will always be that way. But no, competitive will happen. I'm not sure on the 5v5 scene. ESL hasn't mentioned anything. They have not announced anything. Probably, right? So, well,
because EA announced what they're going to support, and just sports, isn't it?
Well, for now, all they're going to do is FIFA and Madden.
Right.
But the thing is that there are other players that can come in with some money. You're not going to be seeing the $30,000 lands. Yeah. By no means, but you will be seeing some big cups, big tournaments online being played, which is going to benefit the 10v10 AV8 crowd. As far as 5s, I'm not too sure if we're going to see anything from them. It's really going to be all up to the game modes. I mean, if we see a squad rush like game mode or Conquest 5v5,
take my money.
then it's going to be a successful 5s scene. Right. But if all we have is domination, we're going to have much more.
People are done with that. They're so done with domination from 4.
Actually,
I love domination.
I like playing it.
A lot of the competitive scene, when we switched over from Dom to Squad Obliteration, a lot of the competitive players, because they were brought in on domination, so a lot of the old Conquest guys, that came in from Battlefield 3, they didn't like Dom, so they stopped playing. They said, this is stupid. Domination is more of a gunplay heavy as opposed to a strategy team-based type deal. You don't really have to hold flags per se, and it's more of a run and gun style. So it ushered in a new wave of competitive players that were based solely around a good gun skill. Right. And then when we switched over to Squad Obliteration for the last 2 seasons in ESL, they couldn't make that transition from being able to hide behind their gun all the time to actually having to think with the bomb and having good, push-pull strategies on Squad Obliteration, that they ended up bailing out of Squad Oblit, and they're screaming and yelling for Dom. So there's actually pretty good amount that want to see Dom coming back for competitive.
All right. All right, well, let's wrap up Battlefield 1 a little bit, and we'll move on to some Overwatch. But, Kick, I want you to kind of summarize your feelings of Battlefield 1. If you want to do it like buy, no buy, or, like, are you like, how excited are you? I don't know what scale we're going to use here. Altai Ranges, Darth, maybe?
Oh, gross.
But,
gross.
I'm actually I like that map.
I know, you keep saying this, but I'm not letting you do that. I'm not letting you backtrack on that.
Disgusting.
So, before you played it, Kick, to where you are today, how did you progress from hands-on playing it?
I like it. I think it needs a few balance tweaks, gameplay mechanic tweaks that aren't out of the threshold of what they can do between now and release. I think it's got a lot of potential. I just hope the SMG spread RNG is annoying, like Brett said. They've got it's fun. I mean, I'm a rank 30. I've only got 30 hours in it, but I'm having a blast with it. So.
Yeah. See, I need to put more time in. I know that, but
I'm definitely gonna buy it.
Yeah, I think we all know we're all gonna buy it.
Well,
so.
I know.
We'll be playing it in 7 or 10 months down the line.
Exactly.
That's the question.
Well, so then I'll say it. Yeah, that's my big concern. Is I'm definitely gonna buy it, and I'll probably enjoy it, at least, even if it is more towards Battlefront, where it's the moments and stuff. There's going to be game modes that I probably enjoy more than others and experience-wise, but my big concern is I don't know. I'm not going to feel that compulsion to, hey, I got to get in tonight. I want to work on this gun, this kit, this, whatever it may be. That's what drives me. That's what entertains me in the long haul. I'd like to improve, even if it's from suck to not as bad suck. I just like to feel that progression, in myself, not just in the game, levels, guns, whatever. So I don't know if this game's going to have that. I think it's going to have some pretty epic matches with buddies and things like that. So I have major concerns about the longevity, if I had to point one thing out. There's a lot of things that could be tweaked for me, but I'm kind of a stingy old FPS old man in that regard. Yeah. So, I don't know. I think I'm more intrigued after having played it, but I also have pretty grave concerns about it. To me, the big indicator is going to be, they're at this kind of fork in the road. Which way are they going to go? Are they going to go more towards Battlefront, the casual, compressed skill gap, movie experience, or are they going to go towards more a fun, kind of balanced, competitive game? And again, I'm not using competitive like Brett was. I'm just saying close matches and try to balance it and stuff. So that's where I'm at. Brett, why don't you take it away, and then I'll let Darth somehow summarize.
I think basically right now, as far as you're concerned with the longevity of the game, for people like me who end up playing, one or, 2 or 3 classes, they play them all most of the time, but they only play 1 or 2 guns out of that class, this game is going to be perfect. Because to be completely honest, I love the fact that there's very little customization. I love the fact that you don't have to have 27,000 different attachments and figure out which one is going to work. I love the fact that I don't have 7 slots to put on my gun. I just want to grab one and go kill stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if you're the norm anymore is the problem. Yeah, but well, I know it's a realization we all have to get.
I think that is going to be the biggest concern that DICE have if they stick with the level of customization that we see in the alpha. Mm-hmm. They could be changing that completely come launch. This build is not necessarily current. So, don't think that, this is what it is right now. This build actually
typically it's a month or 2 behind.
This is probably made back in March would be my guess.
Yeah. So, this is definitely not the base game that we're going to be seeing coming out. There are going to be changes. But as far as that, I think that, you're going to lose people who aren't going to have 10,000 hours of grinding. Yeah. Because there's just not going to be as many things
not necessary.
To grind, which is good for me. I love that aspect.
It is to me too, where I'm at in my life.
My point is not how long can I grind out for a single gun. It's hey, let me just go ahead and play the game because I enjoy the game. Right. But I'm going to buy the game. I will buy it. I will definitely pub it. It will be in my library for sure. As far as competitive goes, we're going to be giving that a whirlwind. We'll see how that goes. We're going to be doing some. I'm already in talks with some people. We're going to be doing some 32v32 stuff, and we do have a couple of leagues that are going to be popping up for 10s and 8s. Potentially 5s going in for ESL as well. So there is going to be a little bit of a competitive scene happening at the very start of Battlefield 1. We'll see if it actually continues on through because it does have a lot of things that it has to overcome. Will this be a stable launch? Yeah, that's going to affect if players stick with the game or not.
They've been already with Hardline and Battlefront, so let's hope.
Yeah, but Battlefield 4, it didn't, and we lost a lot of player base off of it. Yep. That's going to be a big issue as well. But as far as me, I am definitely going to buy the game. And it's going to be a good pub game. Even if it stays like this, I think it'll still be a good pub game because honestly, right now, I don't even play Assault. I'm like, okay, you guys want to just spam at me from up close with the Assault all the time? I'll pick a medic class or a sniper.
Standoff.
That's what I've been playing, and I've been kicking ass with it. So it's a good game. It's going to be a good game, I think.
All right, and then Darth, just based on what you've heard before tonight. I mean, any opinions you got?
So,
I know, unfortunately, you're a weird spot.
For me, it comes down to, obviously I'm buying this, but I'm more optimistic about this game than I was Hardline and Battlefront at this point, and seeing what's going to what we can expect at a bare minimum out of the game. And I think there's a lot more potential with this game than there was for either of those two. They don't have shackles on them with IP reasons with Battlefront like they did with Battlefront.
Right.
They aren't trying to define themselves in a very narrow bandwidth like Hardline was. And they have a lot of opportunity with this game to do a lot of different things with Battlefield. And it sounds like they're trying out some stuff that maybe isn't working out so well. And we'll see. We'll see where they take that by the time that they get around to the beta. And The demo, and it'll be interesting to see how the game evolves and what people think of it after launch. I would be very surprised if they didn't have a very stable launch, because I think they got scorched hard enough on that in Battlefield 4. They've at least learned their lessons for 2 games now that have launched well. I would be surprised if we didn't get that out of this one as well, because I'm sure it's a banner sitting somewhere in DICE, or it's like, please God, have a stable launch.
Well, this is supposed to be a flagship too. This isn't like Hardline was like Excursion. Battlefront was they were doing it for the money. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
That's
true. I'm saying the attention they're going to give, the resources.
Battlefield 4 that I think they sort of shot themselves in the foot. They were trying to do too much in too short of a span of time. Because I think about all the features that game launched with, I'm like, wow, the scope for this game was insane. You had 10 maps the game launched with, each with 8 game modes apiece, which were half finished for the most part. And then you had Levolution, you had Destruction on top of that, you had 40 or so guns that the game launched with what 4 attachments, 800 attachments apiece. Like the mind-boggling task that they bit off for themselves with Battlefield 4. They had about the kind of launch that one could expect if you've ever worked on a game before, and it's incredible that DICE LA was able to fix up what was left behind to them, and they really did a good task on that. And it's I think as a studio, DICE and EA to a more extent has sort of learned from the errors of the past, and I kind of expect more out of Battlefield 1 than I did either Hardline or Battlefront, because it is that flagship product.
Yeah, I think the resources are going to get thrown at it that the other two didn't really see.
Yeah, it's so far all signs point to positive. I mean, yep, we've been burned before. We could be burned again. We'll see what's going to happen when we get close to the launch. It's $60.
I spent it on worse, right?
They're gonna have to convince me to buy the expansions and DLCs or whatever they're coming out with for this thing.
Not
that are
before,
coming down the line.
All right, so
go ahead.
Yeah,
7 to 10 months down the line, are we gonna still be playing it? I can't tell you that yet.
We'll have to get together. We'll have to get the same cast together. Say like, I don't even know, spring
of
Reddit,
17. Remind me.
And see like who of us are playing in. We'll play back little snippets and see how wrong Brett was.
I think one of the encouraging things is the Battlefield 4 beta was garbage, and everyone was like, "Oh, they'll have their shit together in a month."
No,
this alpha is playing really, really good, and I think they're going to be all right for launch. I really do.
That's the most encouraging thing, is that they're super open with showing this right now in the state it's in, which is a build from probably a few months ago.
Much more proactive about soliciting feedback too. I've noticed. Like since I've gotten, I've had emails, I've had personal contacts, I've had. Certain people are now in positions that they were not. Whether they listen to you or not, I don't know. But they want you to feedback, and that's a start. Like, before Battlefield 4, it was a demo. It's a hype builder. That's all it was. And,
Battlefield 4 essentially the community was talking to a brick wall at that point.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, they had their heads down. They couldn't do anything.
Yeah, there's nothing they could have done anyways, because they knew what they were up against.
Right. They knew 6 months out that they were fucked.
Right.
But I'll say they're definitely soliciting feedback. Whether they're going to listen to it or not, I don't know. But let's wrap up Battlefield when everybody's good with that. So we'll move on. We're going to move on to Overwatch. It's going to be the other big topic. And then, like I said, we'll probably go to like an after show. Everybody hangs out, does talk. We'll talk about some other topics or whatever everybody wants to. But the other big elephant in the room, if you will, of gaming lately. I got to do a whole other podcast with E3 and all the other stuff coming out. But Overwatch, that's been the other game that's been kind of encompassing my focus. I know I see the shirt Brett's wearing there. I know Kick's been playing. Darth, again, you're kind of going to be the third party. You're going to talk about it from the viewer standpoint, I suppose. I'm loving this game. I'm still loving it. I haven't gotten to play it that much. Brett, how high did you get in this? I'm feeling you're going to say some crazy number.
I don't know. Like 40 something.
That's not that crazy.
No, I actually stopped playing right around the time I went to LA. That took up a couple of days there, and then when I got back, I was editing footage, and then less than a week later, they're like, "Oh, by the way, you're invited to the alpha," and I was like, "Oh, okay." Yeah. So I've been playing the alpha the entire time. So I haven't really played a whole lot. I did finish my placement matches, and I got like an MMR of 47 or something like that. But
I haven't even done mine yet.
Yeah, no, I mean Overwatch is a hell of a lot of fun. I think that it's one of those games that is going to be around, I think, for a while, just because it's a Blizzard game and people are going to play it. But it is also a really, really good game itself. Competitive looks really, really amazing for it. They kind of got out to a rocky start with having no hero limits, which is kind of hurting it. If you guys haven't watched any of the streams, I highly recommend that you do watch the ESL streams as well as the Gosu Gamer streams. Those are fantastic for basically explaining what's going on, how's it going on, why those teams and why those players are playing the particular heroes they are, and why they're using them in the fashion that they are. But I think it's one of those games that we're going to be seeing a very high level use. You can see high level players playing in it, but also you can just see the guys just throwing in there and having a blast, like you did basically with TF2.
Mm-hmm. It seems like Blizzard is far better at figuring out the scope of what they want to do in a game than a lot of other studios when it comes down to, we want to make a competitive game that does this, this, and this, and we are going to aim for that, and then we're going to polish the hell out of it. And Blizzard seems to always accomplish that or kill their children before they become horrible mutants that kill everybody. Yeah, and just looking at Overwatch it's been kind of interesting for me, because I'm like, is this game going to turn into the next Heroes of the Storm where everybody's like, and we're done?
I don't think it'll get to that point. I was thoroughly, because I've never played a Blizzard game. I've never played WoW. I've never played Heroes of the Storm, so I've never been like a Blizzard. I just haven't played anything by Blizzard. I was really amazed on, you have 21 heroes between their abilities, their secondary abilities, their alts, like how well they were able to balance all of that. This is like their first. They've never done an FPS game before, right? Especially a competitive one. So the fact that they were able to pull that off is just friggin' amazing. They did an awesome.
I like how they all feel so unique.
I think a lot of the learnings of their canceled project went into this particular one.
They've said this is a spin-off of that. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
The remnants of that project kind of went into this.
Well, if you read or listen to the Dev Diaries, Tracer was actually in that failed project.
She was like the poster girl of that project. She was like they are with Overwatch. Yeah, they love Tracer for whatever reason. So, yeah, did you say, Kick, how high you were?
I'm not that high. I play it casually. It's for some
I'm like
reason,
25, 26, and don't be afraid to say.
I think no, I'm not even that. I can't even. Okay,
oh, really?
I'm such a pleb that I can't even place for competitive yet. I've got to scratch and claw my way.
See,
but I've been so obsessed with. I played a lot of Hardline leading up to Battlefield 1 and just revisited that. But I'm having an issue right now where I don't know if I suck at Overwatch or I just haven't found that one hero that just really caters to my play style, because I've always played first-person military shooters. I've never played, throwing orbs and putting up shields and all this other stuff. So I really need to find, I need to find that hero that fits my niche. That's also 76. A hero that, I was just going to say that's the easy default, but how many teams do you say that doesn't have at least one or two Soldier 76s already? So
that's what I do. When I get damaged, it's Soldier. This is what it is.
I was about to say, that's like plenty. I mean, I've been in a lot of teams where the Soldier 76 wasn't used. You just need the right people.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. All the buddies that, especially when I'm streaming, and the buddies that I play with, they come from the same background I do, so the go-to is that's your entry level.
Yeah. Well, we'll have two 76s.
The thing you kind of got
works.
The thing you kind of have to do with Overwatch is look at it and say, okay, am I a defensive player? Do I like to kind of play back and let people come to me, or do I like to actually take the fight to them? And then once you kind of figure out on that aspect of what you are, then you have to kind of decide, okay, do I want to do damage or do I want to help my team? Do I want to be able to heal my team, support my team with shields, be a builder, whatever it may be, or do I want to just deal damage, just pure dealing damage? And then once you figure that part out, then you have to learn how to play the maps. And unfortunately, I'm going to pick on Culprit over here because as we were playing, he's our tank, and he's just going, Leroy Jenkins!
I want to say that was like so long ago, but I still do that.
You're going.
Yeah.
We need
he's the tank. He sets the pace of combat. You all have to follow him.
I'm the rabbit. You dogs got to chase me. Yeah, I remember. This was a while ago, but I do remember this night. You were so nice about it. You're like, dude, you're doing fine. You just got to stop going YOLO so hard. And I'm like, because I know you, and I'm like, wow, if he's actually calling me out even very nicely, I know I'm being real bad about it. Like, I was like, it was like when your dad scolds you in like just a nice way. You're like, he's disappointed in me.
He's telling you suck like a sir.
I let him down.
The cool things, though, of Overwatch is that you can still kind of have those just YOLO moments, just stupidity, and still have fun with it when you play the quick play, which I've done plenty of times. I mean, I've sat there and I've done, Reinhardt rushes before trying to push them off of the map, or you sit there with Tracer and just go off on their back lines, which that's actually more of a competitive thing too. But you just you could lone wolf it a little bit, kind of going back out there, using an offensive Symmetra, which is really fun if you can ever get the ultimate to come up on her, because you can just keep pressure onto the other team. But I mean, you can do all kinds of crazy and wacky and weird strats. One of my favorite things to do, especially when you got to the payload, was double Reinhardt and double Torb. And put
on the payload.
And what you would do is you would rotate your Reinhardt shields.
Right.
So while one guy is basically watching the back and letting his shields recharge, the other guy is having his up. Once his break, then you flip, and basically you have two turrets going at all times, and a Reinhardt shielding it at all times with another one recharging. And it's fun. It's fun, and I've seen those strategies work, and I've seen them fail miserably. But the cool thing is that Overwatch has built a game where you can do stupid stuff and still have fun.
And it works.
And you know what it is? It's a 5-minute investment. Even if it's the worst match you've ever seen in your life, it's 5 minutes and you're on to the next one. And that's what I love. Like we're getting into the whole, I'm going to segue backwards here. Is that a thing? With the whole, the behemoth blimp thing that comes in, just prolongs an uneven match. This is like, all right, just take your medicine, get it over with. Usually the lobby will even break up. Like it'll just totally scramble everything. So it's
unless you're playing in competitive, in which case, especially on payload, well, King of the Hill Mass too, you get like double Tracer going or Diva spam at the very end. And I've had overtime rounds. In fact, I had one recorded, but unfortunately it was corrupted. I had an overtime round that actually lasted 6 minutes. It was on the Ilias is the one with the pit in the middle.
Yeah.
And that thing lasted, both teams pretty much went, I think it was double Tracer, double Diva, and with Lucios. And we played that freaking point on overtime for so long. And unfortunately we lost, but I mean,
see, if he won, it would be the most epic match ever.
If you get into the competitive stuff, man, it can extend those games out quite a bit.
I've heard it's really broke. I want to just place and just grind a little bit, but I've heard it's just broken, so I'm not like jumping. I'm not going to.
They are fixing it though. They are fixing the way the overtime sudden death stuff works.
Yeah,
and then if you have the hero limits on, which now the competitive play, like I said before, if you look at the competitive play now, ESL has come out with a statement. They've changed their rule sets. Now it's going to be a one hero limit, which means that you're not going to be seeing that Diva spam or that Tracer spam or double Winston, double Reaper, double Lucio, which was very, very popular for a while. So you're not going to see in those 2-2-2 setups. Instead, you're going to be seeing, obviously, a mix. And with that mix comes hero switching. You're going to be seeing strategies coming out with hero switching, trying to counter the other guys and push in. There have been some maps that are being banned out automatically from teams just because they are so hard to push up without a double hero limit.
Right.
But I think that's because Blizzard originally intended for no hero limits to be in the game, and I think with massive play coming out and people really sinking their teeth into it and figuring the game out, they're finding out that, you know what, it really doesn't make for an exciting game to watch, and sometimes an exciting game to play, because you have to play certain heroes to counter those setups. You just have to.
And it's hard to call out. You're like, you hear the Bastion ults. So you're like, okay, Bastion's ulted, you get it, and then you think you're cool, and then there's another one, or whatever the call might be. In your head, you're like, that ult's down or whatever, and then there's another one. You're just like, well, how do I communicate that? It's like, which one has ult? I don't know. I don't seem to limit it as far as watching it. My door is freaking out. I kind of like watching with the limit on, just because I feel like people switch up. I just think it's
way more
engaging.
entertaining.
Yeah,
it's way more entertaining. You see more characters, and you learn more ultimates.
Too, as a viewer, you learn more. Why are they switching to this hero to counter the other? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
For somebody that's not serious into Overwatch, like myself, I learned a lot watching some of those ESL matches. Yeah. And the ones that are going to be coming up with the one hero limit. So I think that's awesome.
Everything is pretty much going to go to a one hero limit, I would imagine, because ESL with the 100,000 Gamescom tournament coming up, pretty much every other tournament, because teams are going to want to practice that particular way, will switch to a one hero limit.
Yeah, they'll just follow the template, and once it's kind of agreed upon, then it's going to be But like we were saying in Battlefield, like whereas Battlefield 1, where I don't feel that compulsion to play a weapon and learn a weapon. I definitely feel that in Overwatch, and that's why I'm much more like when I get home and I'm like, man, I can't wait to play XYZ tonight. It's usually Overwatch right now because it's like, all right, I've been thinking about this a little bit. I want to try this. I want to experiment, like you're saying, maybe team comps, or it's just a certain way to play, certain, to
What's
me,
the
it's just
average
giving you
match
so
length
much to
in
think
there?
about. What's that?
What's the average match length for you guys?
5 minutes.
10 minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
that sounds about. That
competitive's
sounds about
longer
perfect
because they do best of
for
5.
your demographic, simply because you're like, yep, I came home from work, I want to play a couple of games to get it done, and I'm out.
No,
Well, it's awesome because when I come home for lunch, I have about 30 minutes,
Bang a
so I can
couple
get in like 1 or 2 games real quick and then go back to work.
It's
So
super,
it works perfectly for like really short little stints of going in and playing. Now the competitive mode takes longer,
right?
because of the way it's set up. But if you just go to quick play, yeah, you can bang out matches left and right.
That's the thing, is it can be as casual as you want it to be, and it could be as competitive as you want it to be, as hardcore as you want it to be. And you can, I think what Brett was kind of hitting on is like, you can be as effective as just a casual dude that I play 3 champions or heroes. That's all I know, but your team can find a way to make you useful. And that's what I like, because that's what I am. I'm level 25. I still don't know the maps. I still don't know when to not go in. But yet I still find myself being effective as long as I play in a smart way and I don't just do really ridiculous stuff. So I don't know. I haven't found a game like this so much. That's such a blend of casualness, quick matches, non-commitment. I don't have to grind for anything. All the champions are open to me.
Yeah.
That's as a dude
which
with
will be interesting
family
to
job
see.
kids.
That'll be interesting to see if Blizzard keeps that, because they are potentially releasing a hero later this month.
They said all heroes will always be free. They've said that.
Well, we'll see when it comes out. It may be free, but it's like a free month or free weekend or something.
Yeah, right. There could be semantics to it, but that's not really Blizzard's style though. DICE, I would agree with you. Right. I mean, I would pay for them, which is crazy.
If you look at Heroes of the Storm, they have their free hero weekends now. I've only played like an hour of Heroes of the Storm, but I do know that there are some behind a locked wall. Now, whether that is that you have to grind to a certain level or you actually can buy them, I'm not too sure. But I do know that when I loaded it up to play with friends, there were certain champions that I couldn't use. Right. So we might see that here in Overwatch. It may just be behind a level grind. You have to get to a certain level.
That could be. So Heroes of the Storm, I think, was free to play. It sounds like they took sort of the League of Legends tack with it. And I know Overwatch is premium, right?
I think I got it for 40, right?
$40?
I think it's a little less than full,
So they can do their ask up front and then release their heroes for free or whatever free is determined to be. And I think it's probably a better service to their game to, at least for competitive aspects as well, to have everything be available.
Yes, that's exactly. In this game, you couldn't do that.
In a competitive game, when you don't have tools that are available to people up front,
right.
That
when one character
from
counters the other.
Make choices that matter.
Well, the beautiful thing about Overwatch and being a competitive game is that the base game is the exact same thing that you play for competitive, just at a higher level.
Right.
That's some of the issue that we've seen in other games past that tried to make it into the esports world and not be able to, because the game was completely different. Battlefield has had that problem.
No, Battlefield.
Call of Duty actually has that slightly. They've gotten better, though, with time. I mean, they've been able to kind of weed it out, and then obviously just the popularity of it helps out quite a bit. But it's I mean, the competitive game that you see in COD, it's a little bit better now in Black Ops 3 because of the pick ban system, but back in previous CODs, it was not the same as the base game. Hell, and COD 4, especially on PC, it was pro mod. You had to download a mod in order to play competitively. So I think it's very smart, for Overwatch to go in and have that base game be the same thing as competitive.
Like Kick's saying, I'm with him. I'm what you would consider kind of a casual Overwatch player, passionate about it. I just don't get the time to play. So I love the fact that I can tune into these competitive matches and I can see guys playing the champs I play and the team comps I play and be like, that's why they do that, or where does this soldier stand? Like, where does he do and I can transfer that right into my games. Whereas, like you're saying, if it's such a diversion to what I play, it's kind of like they might as well be playing something else. So I just like the fact that it's just like, oh, all right, that's what makes him so friggin' good, is because he's got perfect positioning on this part of the map. And
well, and the cool thing is the meta changes almost every single week, like especially for competitive play. It seems like, and we may see that kind of flatten out here because
I was going to say, is it because people are discovering things? Yeah.
But with the one hero limit, like you're seeing the metas changing on a consistent basis. Heroes that weren't normally played. Widowmaker, when Widowmaker was nerfed, especially in competitive play, we saw a lot more Pharah come in because obviously Pharah's not getting picked off every single round because Widow is not the first choice of the player.
Zenyatta too.
And then because of that, because Farah came in, you saw Soldier 76 starting being used because they needed something to do some long range damage to take down those Farahs. And by the way, guys, if you are a soldier and you see a Farah on the other team, shoot her for the love of God.
Or just hold your ult for that. Yeah,
that's actually my specialty, the Helix Rocket to the Farah combo.
Oh my God, I was actually in a game the other day. And we had a soldier, and he just refused to shoot at the Farah. I was like, "Come on, man!"
That's your job.
And then you have other heroes that are coming in. Reaper is now coming back a little bit more. McCree, because he got nerfed, you're seeing other heroes coming back in because he's no longer that tank killer or being able to kill everything because he flashbang. Basically, you
can't kill tanks and everything.
That was it. So because they nerfed him, now you're seeing more heroes coming into out of the woodwork, going into regular play. And as they add more heroes into it, I think you'll see more and more and more of that, of just the metas constantly switching, which basically makes the game fresh.
Yeah, I love that. That's what I love about League. I mean, I don't even really play League that much anymore, but every patch is just like it reinvents the game, and that's good for longevity. It just kind of like gives those players things to adapt. One thing that's gonna be weird about them is, I mean, obviously we pretty much know what the next hero is gonna be, the Sombra, the sniper healer kind of thing. But like, I find it weird that they're gonna introduce one character hero at a time with this whole system that's built on counters. So it'll be interesting to see how this first one goes, where they're just gonna introduce. I guess it's a support.
Probably their toe in the water to find out how this works out.
Yeah, I mean, it's a support, and supports don't have as many, so there's probably they've probably built her in a way that there's already a counter existing, and supports don't really need a counter, a hard counter anyway. So
it sounds like they've kind of set up the holy trinity of tank healer damage.
Yeah, and a defensive is just kind of this hybrid-ish type of utility kind of character. It's hard to, but you're right. I mean, it definitely is that it's damage tank. It's shoot damage, absorb damage, and heal damage. Basically, it's
Or be Mei and just wall off your own team's ultimates.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
Okay, yeah. Mei.
Yeah, no, don't even get me started on Mei.
All right, let's do this right now.
Player,
everybody hates Mei, right? But do you hate her more on the enemy team, or do you hate her more on your own team? That's what makes
Everybody hates her on the enemy team. I love her on my team.
I love playing Mei. Mei is super fun.
Oh, she's fun to play, but everybody hates. She's my least favorite still.
But I will say this: when you have a good Mei, especially on either a capture point map or a
choke
like at the very choky payload map, oh my God, you can do so much damage with her ultimate.
Mei.
Man.
One thing that's going to be interesting going forward is with new heroes, they have to balance that new hero against old heroes and have them be able to counter the new hero. I'm very anxious to see what they do with these new heroes.
Yeah, it's going to be weird.
What the meta is going to be with the existing 21 or whatever. That's going to be a real bitch for them to, unless they had kind of a scope of what they wanted all of the heroes to be from the get-go and they only did the base 21. That's going to be a nightmare to balance.
Yeah, it'll also be interesting to see how relevant, you touched on this, how relevant will the old heroes be once the new ones come in?
Yeah, what's the meta going to be between
so I don't play Dota or a whole lot, but I know that they have like 1,000 different champions. So, I mean, how relevant were the ones that first launched with the game?
So what League of Legends typically does is they'll go through seasons where they'll have heroes get completely revamped. Maybe some heroes go out of style and they'll be like, well, this hero's out of style now, so let's play with it and change it around so it's relevant.
Reinvent it, basically, yep. Yeah, like Kick's saying, like, to introduce them, they're going to almost like have to parallel park this character right in between these other, it's going to be really weird. And especially when they start to do some more direct kind of characters, like support's kind of like, whereas if they introduce a damage guy without a direct counter, and like you said, almost like the power bloat, where like the new guys are going to be so, like these really cool ideas maybe that they've adapted from how the game's played, it's going to make the older characters a little more obsolete. Because I think they've done a really good job of balancing. There's a couple of characters I hate, but I know how to deal with them. I just fail to do it sometimes, and they drive me friggin' crazy. So I don't know. I'm really enjoying. This is the game. Like if you're telling me I got 2 hours a night, just the one I'm playing right now, even more than the closed alpha. I don't know why that. I'm trying to qualify why that is, but I don't know. Like I've been playing the alpha more because I feel like there's that. Like I have to play that right now because
there's the immediacy. You have a deadline.
Yeah,
you have the,
right.
Yeah.
And when's the alpha over?
They 19th. Haven't said. They haven't decided yet.
They haven't said?
They haven't said.
I've heard the 19th, but who knows?
I asked basically because I was like, should I be playing this tonight when I got the code, and they were like, I hadn't decided yet, but that was a couple days ago.
I'm sure they would let it go over the weekend at the very least.
Yeah,
It shouldn't be too long because beta is going to be coming out about maybe 3 weeks or so before the game, and that's going to be coming up pretty soon.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
So what do you guys think about the brawl feature? Have any of you played that for Overwatch?
I have not touched it yet.
I can't ever find a match for it, but I like the idea of it. It kind of reminds me of the brawl. Well, it's exactly like the brawl in Hearthstone, where you just have like really crazy rules that come out. But I never really seem to be able to find a match. I don't know if you guys have been able to play any of it or not.
I have not touched it all.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard people talk about it and stuff, but I have not. I just don't have enough time. But I definitely will eventually. So yeah, and like I said, I haven't even tried to place one in my competitives yet. I haven't. But like I said, I've heard it's kind of broken with the levers and stuff. So I'm just like, I'll get there. I have so much to learn still, so I just need to play in general.
Well, I'll tell you, if you play your placement matches, make sure you play with somebody because it will be frustrating as hell.
Yeah.
I played one of the, let's see, I think like the 5th placement match that I had. We were on Attack Dorado. I had Double Torb Bastion on Attack. And I'm like,
on Attack?
you guys do realize that we're not like going to be sitting in one spot for too awful long. And they were pissed off at me because I went Zarya, which was hilarious. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm a tank that actually is good. And you guys can't seem to chain your ultimates, or you can't chain with my ultimate because you're sitting in the back, like all tanked up in your turret.
Yeah, that sucks. I was hoping we wouldn't see stuff like that in competitive. You want to do that in quick match, that's fine. You know, it's like that's what that's for. But I was hoping it wouldn't be in competitive, so we'll see. Though I'm gonna have to balance that and kind of make the reward system and stuff.
As your MMR goes up, you're going to see less and less of that.
Right.
So it's just a grind fest at first for the first part of the season. And then once you get that grind fest over, then you're going to start playing with players that are a lot better. Like right now, I've played, I think, like 7 or 8 games after my original placement matches. And it's a lot better. People are talking on comms. We're actually, having a teamwork feel to it. And I'm solo queuing. So I'm not even playing with another person. And it already feels, better than what it did in quick play. The only problem is those placement matches, man. I don't know. It's like they find the worst of the worst. I'm like, hey, let's put them with you.
When did you do them? Did you do them like the first couple days, or you done it recently?
No, I finished my placement matches, I think, last weekend.
I'm just wondering if maybe there was this huge influx of players doing it, so it was crazy. Or
I don't know. But if you followed me on Twitter, you saw a lot of hate from me on Twitter about it.
Yeah. So,
I need to stop being a scrub and get up to 25 so I can do my placement.
It sounds
I think after the alpha, I'm just going to go balls deep into Overwatch.
That's my plan too.
Figure it out.
So we got to do that competitive. We got to do that community match too. Sounds like I need to get you in there right now before you get in. You start going balls deep in there. Meanwhile, just me and you would just be at the back, letting the other guys carry us.
Yeah,
talking trash over comms.
I need to play with the right team.
With Reinhardt just zooming up.
Going balls, just charging.
What are you doing?
I'm playing offensive Reinhardt, man.
Offensive
as long as I take somebody over the cliff with me, I figure that's a push. And they're better than me, so it's actually a net gain for us. So yeah, I do. It's funny. I've played probably 100 matches since that at least, and I remember those. You're playing fine. You just need to calm down a little bit. But I'm having fun.
I always hate those people in chat that are like, "Oh my God, why are you choosing this hero? You need to do this." Like, I don't want to be that guy, but at the same time, it's like you kind of don't want to go with that character here because we need somebody to push. We need some damage. We need some
League of
heals.
Legends tries to do a lot of social engineering in their game. Does Blizzard do much of that with Overwatch, where it's like flag this guy as being a douchebag?
You could at the beginning, but they've actually taken that out. They had the ability to say, "Don't match me with this player," and you can also report people for being abusive, cheating, and there's like 3 options I think you can have. But they've taken out the option to say, "Don't place me with it," because they actually had issues with matchmaking, not finding people.
So many people were blocking so many other people.
Yeah. So I mean, like they're trying to do it, but I think it'll take a long time before it actually gets to a point where it'll be effective. I think.
So one of the things, it's been a while since I played League, so they probably have changed this entirely, and I'm going to be talking out my ass now. One of the things they were doing back then is you could essentially flag somebody as being toxic, and if they had enough people flag them that way, they essentially got stink lines on their character. for being a poor jerk. And then you would have helpful players, so you could sort of thumbs up players who are good or
they still definitely have
their
their rewards for like good play and teamwork and all that stuff still. But I don't think Blizzard Overwatch does that yet. You rate your matches basically.
So I'm completely unawares, but do they have voice over IP in
yes.
Overwatch?
It's
and
kind
it
of
is
necessary.
some of the best VoIP I have ever used in any game.
Oh, nice.
It is crystal freaking clear, and there's almost no lag whatsoever in it. It is like amazing.
How much rage is there over it?
Actually, not a lot.
No,
I've run into very, very little rage in it. Most of the time, when those players start bitching and moaning, it's towards the very, very end of the match, and a lot of times they're leaving like within a few seconds of saying something.
Okay.
But you can also leave and join the channel by hit P, and you can just join it and leave it as app.
Juan saying that the rating to avoid a player was that the top side, and I remember reading this in the article, I think it was Jeff Kaplan talking about this, the top rated like sniper they have in their like metrics was like he couldn't find a match because everybody had just like avoid this player, avoid this player, avoid this player, and they're like he's not doing anything wrong, he's just really good.
Yeah.
So the poor guy was in like 20-minute queues and he couldn't find a match because everybody played against him was like, get away from me.
That brings up a pretty interesting point on reporting players for cheating. Because they've actually had, I think it was like there was a Korean girl that was like #1 Zarya, and she had like this ridiculous win rate with Zarya. And they actually said that, she was cheating. And two, I think it was competitive Korean players said that they challenged to look at the footage, and they actually invited her out, watched her play, and they said that if they were wrong, they would completely uninstall Overwatch and stop playing, which they ended up having to just because she was so good.
Wow.
But anyways, my original point was the fact that it'll be interesting because reporting all, if he's a cheater, if he's not, because the way Blizzard is doing their bans, it's permanent.
Yeah.
If you looked on some of the people who have reported it on Reddit and looked at some of the articles that have come out, people have gone so far as to actually change their MAC address, their IP, and go through, like, after they've uninstalled it, scrubbed it from their computer, tried to put it back on there, and it still would ban them. So if you're falsely accused and they're not willing to reverse the ban, like,
you're done.
Are you just like, when are we going to run into that one person that gets royally screwed over, and how bad is it going to blow up?
Right.
I mean, those people can always contact Blizzard's customer support and try to work it up that way.
They've already said that they will not reverse a ban.
It's going to have to happen, I think, though. I mean, I love it, and I think that's more PR. I don't think they're going to announce it when they do.
Well, I mean, so ultimately, what are they out?
Nobody's ever going to accuse me of cheating.
A $50 install from somebody, and if somebody has, if some very popular person gets banned and can prove that they weren't, they'll do something. Like, that's what it comes down to is how bad does this itch need to be scratched?
Yeah. But I
just say it'll be interesting to see their take on it if it does happen sometime down the road. I like the fact that they're like, hey,
me too.
And not only are they banning the cheaters like that, but they're going after the people providing the cheats.
Yes,
which
finally.
I absolutely love.
Yeah,
they go to the source, sue the shit out of them because they're basically modifying Blizzard's code, which is illegal. You can't do that, and they need to be thrown in jail, the crap stomped out of them, and blown off into space, land into the sun, because I mean they are ruining the experience of hundreds of thousands of people and the potential business of Blizzard.
This whole game hinges on balance, so you can't have that, and you can't even have the stink of it. That's the problem. Like, even if articles start getting written about hackers and cheaters and all this, that's gonna hurt the game. Like,
and it's gonna bring in more suspicion.
Yeah, even if you're not seeing it, you're always gonna be like, you can't even have the stink of it. So they got to be aggressive, and that's fine. I think they'd rather. It's like the opposite of like they'd rather put innocents in jail than let one cheater go free, kind of thing, as opposed to like law. They're like, we'll deal with that later. I don't care. Let's just get these people out of here. Can't blame us for being too militaristic.
Wow, look at what the stench of cheating's done to like Rainbow
Darth,
Six.
I was just gonna say the same thing. God.
It's totally fucking ruined Rainbow Six and
right. That's exactly what I thought of when I was saying it.
I know.
And
I know
the
this
Division,
is a little,
same thing, same company.
I know this is a little off topic here, but I do have a question on Rainbow Six. Like, how? Because I stopped playing it after a couple of weeks. I just didn't like the game. Didn't like the feel of it. How bad is it once you start getting up higher in rank? Like, you still run into the really bad cheaters?
Yep.
Even in the high rank stuff.
Yep.
Oh, that's a shame.
I watch. There's a streamer I watch that is he was platinum, and he'll run into him every few matches still.
Dargus.
Still, I would be very. It would be very cool to see because they use Fair Fight, and I would love to see how they are implementing Fair Fight for it to suck so bad.
They're not.
Or maybe it's just how they're following up with what the information that Fair Fight's giving them.
That's probably more of the case.
Because with Battlefield, you can get, depending on how long the match is, you can get 50, 75, 100 kills in a round. In Rainbow Six, you get 6 kills a round, 7 kills a round. So it takes a lot longer for Fair Fight to compile all that information to say, yeah, this is an obvious statistical cheater. So
they even did that. What do they call it? Where they put the game for sale for like $15, like a starter pack or something.
They're still doing that. Yeah, it's a quote unquote starter pack. We only
get a few discontinued it, but I want to check the game out. I think they discontinued. Maybe they brought it back. I don't know. But I was sitting. I'm like, $15 is like totally disposable. It's like okay, but the fear of just what I've heard about hacking, cheaters, everything from people I trust, not just like I'm not reading on Twitter or news sites or something.
Competitive, like league ESL league competitive matches, they've had known cheaters,
and that's why they haven't gotten my money.
Still,
just because of what I've heard about it.
The problem though is that you can't track it. From what I've understand is like because there was a video of a guy actually like looking over at a second monitor, then turning the corner and just ripping into like 3 people, and it's kind of like hello, but the admins can't do anything because they don't have any actual.
So there's no actual tools there.
Yeah, way of saying, well, yeah, he was kind of cheating. But no, that's kind of interesting though, seeing like because you have like some of these games like Blizzard that's going in with this massive like, no kid gloves. You cheat, you're done. And then you got stuff like, and I'm not saying that Rainbow Six or Division is allowing cheaters, but they're like, it's not their priority.
No, it's definitely not.
Like
that's exactly what it is. They didn't ever even build towards
but,
it.
Well, they did flip flop like 2 or 3 days after Blizzard came out with their statement on cheating and ban hammers. Ubisoft did the same thing for Division and Rainbow Six, but it's so late for a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm not as much up on Rainbow Six, but Division, I don't even think they have the protocols or the tools to catch these people. Like they're literally relying on people to report them, and then they try to monitor it. But there's no way. They say there's ways to catch them, like a filtering system or whatever. But I don't think there is. I mean, maybe there is now, but at launch there certainly was. It was so. I mean, that's the worst cheating game I've ever seen. It was so blatant. It was like you go turn on Twitch, you're just like
people shooting through buildings and
teleporting all over the place. It was like things that you would think would be really easy to detect, like movement speeds and things like this. There's none of that in the game. So if you're doing that, you clearly should get flagged. They just never. Whether they didn't have time, maybe this is a Battlefield 4 type of thing. They just didn't have time to do it, but it killed their game.
Division was definitely a big scoped game. I mean, that was
huge.
That was one I had a whole lot of hope for, and then it kind of fell flat on its butt.
I really liked it. I did, but I couldn't deal with they didn't have a plan, and they didn't have a plan for cheaters, and I was just like, see you later. So I was telling the guys I might revisit in the fall again, but we'll see. Give them some time to kind of refine it, but I think we're kind of stalling out here a little bit, so we covered the big topics. I'm going to wrap it up. We hit our 2-hour mark, which is what they let me upload to YouTube directly from my stream. So we're going to wrap up the show proper, and then we're going to come back. Like I always say, Kick and Brett and Darth, I mean, you guys are free to go. This is just the average show. We just hang out for a little while, kind of talk with chat, a little more casual, a little more direct talk in the chat because we kind of haven't really. But thank you guys. Thank you, Kick, for coming on. I appreciate it always. We've been doing the Twitch dance where I host you host me. We go back and forth Twitter. We did play the other day a little bit, so that was cool. But thank you for jumping on. And Brett, I appreciate you standing in. Always on short notice. Appreciate that. So, and this one fit you pretty well, which was good. And between Overwatch and the Battlefield 1, I thought you might have a little conflict of not being able to talk about certain things. So I'm glad it worked out. And then Darth, Mr. Agreeable, always ready with the Yule log. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
So actually, I should put up. I don't know if is Puppy still here. I don't see him in here. I did put the image over. I don't. Oh yeah, there he is. I didn't know if he saw it though, but we'll put that back up there for Mr. Puppy who couldn't make it. Missed your buddy. We haven't. I was saying it's been like 2 months, 3 months, 4 months since we did a podcast. It's been a while, and that's all on me. But I'm gonna make fun of Puppy right now. Before it was really before that. No, it was before that. The last one we did Division. I think it was Division launch, wasn't it? I think that was the last big topic we kind of did it for.
Holy shit!
But we wanted to do the Battlefield one. That was the closest one we came to, and I think I had to cancel. Yeah, I think something like that. I don't know. Yeah, it's life, man. It sucks. It gets in the way of everything. So, but thank you guys. Thanks for coming on. Everybody hanging out still. Thank you so much. Kick, I see a lot of your dudes, so you should be proud of that. Very cool. Good show of support from the guys for you. Absolutely welcome, guys. Thanks for hanging out. We're gonna put the stream down, just kind of cut it up, and I'm gonna bring it right back on. I gotta use the bathroom again because I'm a little girl. And we're just gonna hang out. We'll probably, I don't know if you guys want to get into CS:GO Lotto or any other games. It's kind of gonna open up to the chat. But thank you guys. Thank you for hanging out. I appreciate it. If you don't follow these guys, make sure you check out Kickstand with the 1, right? That Kickstand on Twitch. I'm gonna if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll have everything linked down below. But it's a little harder on Twitch. Was that you? What is that?
I'm reformatting my computer, and it's like one of the. I'm at the screen where I'm starting to do.
It's like a robot voice.
Yeah,
you can spell.
Talking. I was like, hello.
But yes, make sure you follow Kick. What would you say? You're kind of a variety first-person shooter guy. Like, is that the best?
Mostly first-person.
Yeah, you're mostly a shooter guy, but you do bounce around for a lot from squad all the way up to Overwatch. I've seen you do all into the spectrum. Darth's Mr. Battlefield 4. He's like a resident right now. He's kind of, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if you jump ship over to Battlefield 1 when the time comes. But
I keep trying to change the things, and then they make disappointing games, and I'm
I know.
sad
I was thinking about that. I was like, you were hoping Hardline would kind of give you a fresh breath. You're hoping Battlefront, and then you're still doing Battlefield 4. But I mean, it's exactly how It's exactly how Battlefield 3 went. There's like Medal of Honor. There's all these games in between, and everybody just kept staying with Battlefield 3. And Brett, what are you up to now? Are you still casting actively, or are you kind of chilling for that?
Well, I've been doing some PlayStation stuff here on the weekends. In fact, this weekend I may be doing a PlayStation 16's Conquest match. But I'm going to start doing some 10v10 stuff with the Simthic guys. So Simthic has opened up a league, 10v10 league. And if you guys actually are interested, I know there's a couple of people. It's called the Championship Combat Series. But that one right there is for Battlefield 4. And I'll be casting that with Scotch, which I think Season 3 is going to hit here in the next, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. But if you guys want to follow me on Twitter, I'll be retweeting stuff from them.
Yeah, and the names are all underneath. So
yeah.
And I will link everything on YouTube.
And then, of course, when Battlefield 1 launches, I'll be casting something. I don't know what it is yet, but I'll be casting something.
We'll have to get together more closer to release for sure.
Yeah, and I'm in the works for a bunch of community stuff as well, so.
Yeah, read your chat, culprit.
Yeah,
we know he's missing.
Even though he's talking. But all right, guys, we're gonna sign off. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. Thanks for hanging out. I'll talk to you later.